All right, welcome back to the Northern Lights podcast. We have a special summer episode with our new host, Alicia, and a special guest, Philly from Lucky Strains. Thanks for coming out today and joining us, Philly.
Thank you for having me. I'm over the moon excited.
So tell us a little bit about the origin of Lucky Strains. How did it get started? Where are you guys based out of? Can you give us a little background?
So it comes from the start of Lucky's Treehouse, actually. So Lucky's Treehouse started in 2019, and it was our first CBD company. And it came because the Farm Bill got signed. And me and my wife have been advocates since way back. I'm legacy from late 1900s. So we're like, okay, we're going to do this. It's finally ready. And then right away, I get the website set up. Everything's rolling. All of a sudden, we get a sale, CBD bath bomb sales. Boom, everything's frozen. All our accounts are froze. Yeah, because the feds were like, no, it's not really ready to sell, or whatever they want to say. So we, pushed on. We started doing giveaways. And then 21, we actually started an industrial hemp company. And then in 22, when edibles went legal in Minnesota for THC regulated, then Lucky Strains was started because we knew we were moving forward. I could see legalization coming. So it really started from, wanting to get this product into people's hands. I mean, we were doing giveaways, free giveaways for like the first year.
You mentioned earlier that you're into community things. What kind of community things do you do since you're giving away things?
Because we've gotten, help from the community along the way. We've given back a lot because of the support we've had during hard times and the support that, to causes I brought up about. So we give back from every order. $1 we split up equally goes to breast cancer foundations, no-kill animal shelters and rescues, and child sex abuse awareness and prevention programs. And it really is about causes that have affected us, and we know that the community needs support in these things. And we also, are thankful because we've had to get a well reception in some instances from a community because it's had this stigma for so long. Right. And so we are so thankful for that. I mean, we give discounts to community members, to people that are volunteers in the community, students, education, city workers, government workers, and I mean like healthcare workers. I don't mean just doctors and nurses. I mean, if you're a doctor, great. If you're a janitor, great. You get a discount.
Right. That's beautiful.
So you've been involved in, something pretty historic here in Minnesota. You're the first licensed dispensary in the Twin Cities. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what it feels like to finally be there?
It's unreal. And I know because I have to say it's our micro business retail endorsement license, right? And I say that because my wife is administration guru, and she wants to make sure I say it correctly. Because, we are very much about the book they've laid out. Even if we don't agree with everything, we've had to really, buckle down to make sure that we could even be the first license. We just wanted to get licensed. And then they said we're the first. It's pretty unreal. It really is. But I give all the credit of the application process to my wife, Bear. She is a genius. It's unreal what she did because she didn't hire an attorney. She did so much. She has a real estate background and paralegal background. So she put that all to work. And I mean, one of the submissions, it was like 260 pages of answers.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the struggles now? So, Bear struggled through this admin process. What are the next upcoming struggles? How are you guys getting product? What's that outlook look like? Mm-hmm. What are your next steps in the journey of Lucky Strains?
So now it's kind of like waiting a little bit, reaching out to people we've reached out to, but I've done research to find out who's licensed, and we've now gotten some calls after Care 11 did a special. We've gotten calls from farmers that are, in the process, either finishing their build on their farm or they're getting licensed, getting their inspection appointments set up. So they obviously have months to grow. Hopefully we can work out some kind of relationship with a tribe. You know, we've asked a few and we haven't gotten the best response. They've, you know, wanted to keep it amongst their people for now. And I get that. I do. I would probably done the same thing. But it does seem like we're getting some headway with Island Pezé. So that will be our next, you know, hopeful avenue. Because if they could help and supply us, we would, you know, see something in the store next month probably.
Yeah, because Alicia and I, we went to tour White Earth a couple weeks back. So yeah, it was kind of surprising. I think they have all the cool toys, bells and whistles, but the scale is actually still pretty small. That was 6,000 square foot of flowering canopy. Okay. They've got they've got the Monument store, the one in Moorhead, and then the one in St. Cloud. And they're looking to open up Bloomington. Was it Bloomington, Rochester, and somewhere else?
Yeah, that one is yet to be determined.
Yep. So it's this, you know, they've got their own stores, and even after that, they said they could maybe supply 10 retail outlets. So it's just like a very tight supply currently going on in the marketplace.
Yeah, and that's it. And there's going to be competition for that if we're all going, you know, in this first beginning time, we're all kind of going for the same product, right?
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But we refer people to the reservation since the beginning of, you know, legalization. We've been telling people, go to, you know, Red Lake, go to White Earth, go to Island Pezé. And now they've got stores that are closer, you know, St. Cloud and Treasure Island about the same distance. So that's good.
Are you thinking about cultivation at all, or using any other parts of your micro? Because you mentioned you have a micro pre-approval. Now you got your endorsement for retail, and you're the first one in Minnesota. Like, what are your plans after that? Or are you just going to be retail?
It is. It's something we're going to explore. You know, we've thought about it in the past. It's now we see more and more what regulations will be like, what we'll be able to do. And it's a lot. It's a lot to take on, you know. And,
definitely.
So possibly. Our biggest goal in long term is we want to get a very large property and make a sanctuary. So it'll be a rescue sanctuary, save animals, grow everything from, you know, peaches to vegetables to weed, and do that.
When the product starts coming on the marketplace and it's getting easier to access, what does it look like for, you know, when you're going out to choose these strains and products? What do you, Philly and Bear? What are some things that you guys look for in quality cannabis?
That's something that we are still learning, because right now it's kind of different than we've seen other places. We're not going to have deli at our place, so it won't be a deli type shop. So I'm curious to see what these prepackaged options are. I know I come from a growing my own aspect, and, you know, getting stuff from medical as well. And just, you know, we'll probably be creating our methods of choosing as we see what there is available. Because right now we haven't done that. We haven't had those products, but all the rest of our products, you know, we try everything that goes in our store. Some of it doesn't make the cut, because some of you have had stuff where if you taste that Delta 9, it's not for anybody. But this will be much different. And I'm more flower than she is. She's, you know, same as me. We've both enjoyed it since way, way, way back. But I'm much more daily than she is, or much more throughout the day than she is. It's a powerful thing. And she enjoys microdosing a lot because it helped her through her surgeries. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer 3 months after we started Lucky Strains. And then it was surgeries, and it was recovery and surgery, 4 surgeries in 14 months, and no narcotics, no opioids, all microdosing cannabis stuff, whether it was stuff we've made or stuff from, you know, the shop.
Wow.
That was a lot. And sometimes she would be out with me at events 2 days after surgery or something. And the doctors are saying she should be home healing. And I say the same, but she's a major part of the company. So today it's too bad she's not here, because she's, you know, she's sick. She still has medication and stuff. And it doesn't always make you feel good.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And to be able to get through all of this, like you mentioned, the micro license, just going through all that while going through cancer and everything. That's amazing.
Oh,
what a strong woman.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's why the license that's got her name right on it. And it says Lucky Strains, but it says Sarah Bear Kelly Maudlin. She's the one that put in all the legwork on that.
Good job.
You've been a pillar of the cannabis industry here in the Twin Cities. I see you at all the events from, the 420 event over at MGM. What are some of the events you're looking forward to for the rest of the summer?
So coming up is this Capital City Fest, really, because we've done most of our community events this year. A lot of city summer festivals that we've done, everything Cinco de Mayo and like St. Patrick's Day Parade is a big one for us. We're the first cannabis company to walk, and that's a 65-year parade, I think. And, they wouldn't let us before, and then they let us finally. So this thing right here, we're excited. We got to be part of the organizing committee, and it's a community event, so it's not a cannabis event, but we're normalizing it. That's the biggest thing we have tried to do. Get in these community events, these city summer festivals, and normalize it. Because these places, we'll have grandma and grandpa walk up. I've literally had a grandpa walk up and say, "There's dope in that chocolate?" And it's like, yeah, there is in a way, but it's healthy. It's good for you at a low level, just like a lot of medicine you take. If you take too much medicine, it's not good for you.
Right. Or if you don't know what you're doing with your medicine,
exactly.
It's not that good.
Exactly. So that has been our primary goal, being in these community events, normalizing it. So now at this one, we won't be selling flower most likely because it's a community thing, and people won't be walking around drinking. They won't be walking around smoking either. But it's 50 or 40 food trucks and vendors. They got live wrestling going on, two different live stages. I mean, it's a big event. A live car show. They got a massive kid zone with all these bouncy houses, Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, where is that?
So it's at Sears downtown, the old Sears parking lot, St. Paul.
So Midtown. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, St. Paul. It's Capital City Fest.
Capital City Fest.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's a good time. High Society Eats is the originator of it. He's a food truck. He has this food truck, and he wanted to start a food truck festival, and now it has become something amazing. Yeah, that's their thing right there. High Society Eats.
So you kind of, I think, alluded us to or pushed us into I think a good topic to talk about is this normalization in education. So like, you've done a lot of normalization, and like you just said, you got over 65 years. You're the first cannabis business to be represented at St. Patrick's Day Parade. But at your business, how important do you see education and normalization? It's like, is the normalization creating new customers, and education helps you sell the products, or how do you see both those aspects work in everyday life and business?
Just like you said it. It seems like the more we educate people, the more people are involved, the more they want to use these products, the more they support it. It's the education, I think, that is propelling everything. You see places like Texas, I feel like they're going backwards with the products because people are uneducated. We want to educate. We've always welcomed first-timers, and we've been in these city events to educate people. And when we do, they usually come into the shop or they get something and it works because we try to talk to them. I ask them to come over to the booth, or I ask them what's ailing them, because this stuff usually helps. Most people are suffering from inflammation from something in their body, and this helps so much with that. I have an aha moment when I was at my booth, and I'm talking to somebody about this stuff and telling them our shop is just up the street. And I realize I'm selling these THC products in City Hall. That's an aha moment.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that lets you know, like, normalization is happening. Progression is happening.
The decriminalization of nature is happening.
Yes, the stigma is fading away because we have so many people come in the shop that are transitioning from alcohol.
Right.
Transition from alcohol to this because it's a better feeling afterwards. It's better during. They don't get into altercations, Yeah.
Much more smiling.
Yeah. And the manufacturers we work with that have like tap rooms, breweries and such, they like these customers better.
Oh, definitely. I like to be in social settings better with stoners than people that are drinking.
Yes.
Less aggression, more smiling.
Almost always.
I haven't seen a stoner that's like aggressive. Maybe they're on something else too, but like just cannabis, nah, everybody's just smiling.
Tell us like the vibe of Lucky Strains. It's in New Brighton, Minnesota. So first ring suburb here in the Twin Cities. To give us the vibe of it. When you walk in, what do you see?
Cozy. That's the best first vibe. You know, we don't have a huge shop, but you come in and it's bright, it's colorful. We had my wife had the idea for the design to be the front of a house. So it's like you come to our house, and the front is the front yard. The ground is green, carpet like grass. You know, the walls are blue on the front yard area, and our house is like orange. It's our colors in the shop: orange, green, purple. And there's art, local art on the walls. I have two friends that have been making art for years, and we try to support. We have another lady that makes these awesome jars, and they look like little plushies. But so she knits. And they actually look like buds. They look like a little plushy bud. Huh. You can screw the top off. It's a glass jar in there. Yeah.
Oh, dope. Yeah. What is like when I was naming my business, I could put a lot of thought of like why I'm naming it this. Like why Lucky Strains?
That's a good question. It comes from our Irish background. Is probably the biggest part Lucky comes from. We love the shamrock. My wife is very much Irish. I'm very much Irish. And it started with that Lucky's Treehouse. And then our hemp company, which you can see on that up there, is Lucky to be Hempy. And then Lucky Strains just felt like the next evolution because we really believe in the different strains. You know, the different terpenes in the different strains, it really makes a difference in what you feel.
And now you're Irish.
Very Irish. You got that right. That's awesome. And my wife, she really is about like strains like cakes and cookies and pies because she has anxiety, like with other stuff. You know, certain ones are much better for some and so on.
Yeah, that's that education piece, like circle back to that, knowing exactly what. That's why I'm so happy that cannabis is becoming more normalized, is knowing what you're smoking, knowing what you're consuming, knowing the levels, the terpenes, and just kind of like being able to know where your spot is and knowing like, oh, dosing, this is a little too high, this is a little too low. I just love this part of it.
Yeah, it's going to get better, right?
Right.
As we learn more, and I know I'm looking forward to learning more on what, you know, terpenes especially because people are discovering them more and more and more and realize those make a huge difference. THC content is not the end all.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to learn more. Each we do this little podcast called Strain of the Month, and each one we pick a strain and we kind of, you know, talk a little bit about the terpenes. So I'm learning more and more, and I'm gonna really get to it now. I gotta read the whole terpene Bible.
So what's the strain game that you were talking about earlier?
We'll play one right now.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess you could describe it kind of like Pictionary without the drawing. So I'm going to give you clues.
Okay.
You're going to try to get the strain.
All
You'll
right.
get it. It's not too crazy. This
I
one.
like games.
Okay, it's 2 words. Okay, the first one is an animal. So if you finish my sentence, it's a silverback.
Gorilla.
Okay, good one. And now kids, when we were young, so a lot of kids.
Played with Elmer's glue.
You're getting there. So what is this strain?
Gorilla glue.
There you go. Yeah. See, how about you? We're going to do one for you. Okay, so what's the color of snow?
White.
So what's about a famous spider?
Black Widow.
And if you put those together, color of
White
snow.
Widow.
Yeah. See the strain game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some fun stuff to talk to people when I'm out and about. I do Seamus, big giant character, inflated leprechaun, and ask some fun questions. When we had our 3-year anniversary on August 1st, 2025, and I went on the Arch Bridge as
Don't
Seamus and asked people questions. Yeah.
Did you record any of that?
Yeah. Oh, it's online.
Okay.
Check out our YouTube, Lucky Strains.
All right. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
So I think one thing, up and coming business owners and people with their pre-approvals are interested in right now is like, you know, how do you do the networking out to the tribes? How do you establish those relationships? What did that look like for you guys?
It looked like trying to find any kind of email contacts, any things like that. That's how we did it at first, and now we've had 2 people reach out to us. So media helps, exposure helps, right?
So what was that process like? You guys were on Care 11 for being the first licensed retail shop. How did they reach out to you, and what was it? What was that process like, having them in the storefront?
It was really great because this was their 3rd time there, and 3rd time is a charm. This was their best story. The first time, there was definitely some facts that were lost, and some things that weren't really out there right, but all that exposure is wonderful, and we love it, but this exposure was the best. I reached out to every news place, over a year and a half ago, and then 6 months later, it's just try again. Just keep swimming. It really is. It's, you got to keep on. And eventually, I think the first time Jennifer Hoff came, she had made a kind of relation with my wife and the breast cancer survival. I think maybe it was her mother, but something like that will connect with people. And that's, kind of why she came. It was, I can't remember if it was the first lottery that was happening. It was something that the industry was, needing some coverage. So they came, and now it's kind of like, you guys want to come? This is happening. And they're like, okay. Yeah. So it's working out.
How is the city with you, New Brighton?
New Brighton has been great. They really have been. And I know it's because we initiated communication from the beginning. When we started this process finding a shop, we started looking in the beginning of 2023. And it took 6 months to find a owner that would allow us to have a shop there. This shop would have been in Burnsville Mall. We were set to move into Burnsville Mall. The day before, they said we could not. So I won't get into all of why. It's more political nonsense. So when we kept asking, because the other part was asking cities if they would accept us, if they would let us come in, if they had figured out their licensing, their cannabis ordinance, their registration, anything like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of cities said they didn't, or they were going to, or they were going to have a very large fee. A lot of cities had a big fee for their specialty license to sell Delta-9 or THC edibles. And New Brighton didn't. They didn't have anything. But first I found an owner there. And he was an owner that lived in California. And he was progressive. And he knows it's not the devil's lettuce. Like, people need to normalize it. So we got in there. And he also was very just supportive of our situation. My wife being in the depths of cancer at that time. And he, helped us with the place, helped us get, he gave us like 4 months to start, and then it was talking with the city, because from the get-go, we asked them for permission, because we're also by 2 churches, and that wasn't, in the bill, but cities can do what they want with their own ordinance. And they were like, it's fine, come here, live, do your thing here. Lucky Strains can be here. And then a year later, they say, we're going to implement cannabis ordinance zoning. You're not going to be zoned properly. Like, we'd have to leave because of the churches. They wanted to adopt alcohol sales ordinance, which says no sales of alcohol within 400 feet of a church. It's like, oh, okay, we got to do something. We can't just leave. So we went to 6 months of planning city council commission meetings and things. And they, finally, it's interesting. Now in New Brighton, churches can actually register as cannabis businesses.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that something?
That's something,
Yeah.
I wonder what the taxes look on that.
So, yeah. So they have very small zones in New Brighton. They will only have 2 registered businesses. So we were very lucky to get one.
So there's another one out there?
I mean,
that's
I don't know at this point. Yeah, possibly. We haven't talked to them about that. We're just focused on our lane at this point.
I always scope out the competition, like, who else is out here?
Yeah, well, there was 11 registered businesses in New Brighton while we were going to these zoning commission meetings, and none of them came. 2 businesses got zoned out.
Well, lucky you, Lucky Strains.
You got to be involved, right?
Right.
Yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Absolutely.
You were talking about how policy influences business. So, like, what policies do you think that are currently on the books could use a little change in the future that would help you as a small business owner?
That's a good question. And you're talking about policies from the state.
From the state, yeah.
Well, I know that we'll go to the deli style. Connoisseurs want a deli style. The state sees it as manufacturing, or that's how they're kind of deeming it. Now, maybe they're changing that with packaging, from what I've recently learned. Is that right? But that maybe is something that could probably change, that might make it better. But at this point, it's not a thing for us that is valuable enough to the common consumer to go through the added. I mean, it's an added manufacturer endorsement, I believe.
So for those who don't know out there, when you say deli style, you mean open jars where they can be like, oh, I'm going to smell this. Oh, I really love this. The lemon profile on this is great. And give me an eighth of that.
Yes.
Oh man, this thing is skunky and smells like sewage. I'm going to need an eighth of that. This is tropical fruit and smells like mangoes. Give me some of that. So that's when you say deli style, that's kind of what you're referring to, right?
Yes, and that is what people that have come a long ways have been getting it that way, so to speak, for a long time. So it is different to go and get packaged only.
I was just saying that it's unpleasant when you're going into any dispensary and it's just you just get a bag of weed. And it's like, yeah, you can talk about it and they can explain to you, but then it just feels very cold. Like, oh, thanks, $60 for this eighth. It's really nice when you can smell it, look at it, or at least look at it. I do know that I went to some dispensaries during COVID, and it was like, if you put your nose near it, it was almost like they're like throwing the jar away from you, like, oh. But it's really nice when you can kind of see what you're getting into before you're actually getting into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's much better if it's out there like produce. And you're smelling melons, and you're smelling, you're feeling tomatoes, and you're feeling fruit, and there's the bud with it. It should be, but
I think you can more easily get what you like. Because when I was in Illinois last, you just have to look at it on a tablet. You're like,
and if the picture's blurry or the tablet's cracked.
I was up in Sonoma a few years back, and it's just like, they have a jar of everything, and you can crack it open, check it out. Half of them, there's part of the dispensary where they had almost like a farmer showcase. You got the story of where it's actually come from and grown, and then you can check it out and smell it. And
see, I like that.
I don't know. I think that's cool because you get to see the entire supply chain. There's transparency there,
and that's what I mean.
And you know who you're supporting. Like it's some small business and not some big conglomerate that's just here.
And that's where the connoisseurs really want. And the common customer right now doesn't get that, but I do feel like they eventually more of the common customer will want that. So I hope that it will change. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people pushing for it, being loud for it.
Yeah, that's where the craft comes in. And I can't wait for the craft cannabis market to come about. It's nice that everything's legal, but things that are coming down the road it's just so exciting to be at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like a lot of people know right now, the best bud in Minnesota is probably grown in your friend's garden. Whether it's the basement or it's outside or it's the garage.
So what do you got growing right now? What are you up to?
Well, we brought Gorilla Glue. That's one of the little clones. What else is in there? Yeah, there we go. So that's a little Gorilla Glue. She just actually got topped this morning. And lava cake, that's one growing right now. I've one of yours growing. Oh, nice. Peanut butter buster.
Oh yeah, no, nice.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I think that one's more leans indica. Is that right? It's more for my wife. Right now, this stuff's more for my wife. I got a little tent for her, then a tent for me, kind of flip-flop.
So what are some of your favorite strains? Like what's on your Mount Rushmore?
Lava cake. It's probably one of my best, one of my favorites. It's so balanced. It's so it's probably my favorite. Frozen Headband. Now, that's a new one that's been created here in Minnesota. And Let's see what else. So classic is probably the White Widow. You know, I'll go with the old classic. What about you? I remember you like the orange terps.
I love the orange terps. So like, let's throw orange cookies, Mac. That'll be one of the four. Cynics. So it's a Cinderella 99 by Vortex.
Okay.
That's very uppity high, almost like chewing on an Adderall.
That's such a funny description. I don't understand. Can you explain more in detail?
Well, I've got ADHD, and they prescribed me lots of Adderall. And so, as a younger man, I may have chewed a couple to speed that impact up before a test or something like that.
If it works, it works.
It was working.
And the Cynics is a replication.
Mm-hmm. I love. So what's another good one? Colombian Miracle. I love that it smells kind of like rotten mangoes and burnt rubber.
Okay.
It's like an orange truck got in an accident.
Yep. And then probably just like the classic for me is probably Tangies. I'll do 2 oranges in there.
Nice. And you, Alicia?
I like the old school strains a lot. Jack Hare is one of my favorites. Just like the way that it grows also. Like the buds are so huge when it's grown right, I guess. I also really like Super Silver Haze. Okay. That is very good.
Cool.
And I like Skunk. I don't really know what the name of the strain is, but like if it smells like a skunk, I'm kind of like, kind of.
The skunky sewage.
Yeah, that skunk smells good.
Yeah. It does make it feel potent.
Yeah.
When it like stinks so good.
Yeah. I love the stink so good.
Cool. Yeah. Can we take a look? Can we get that license zoomed in? Since we got there's some history in the room.
Yeah.
As well show it
It's
off.
an amazing thing too when you think about that. Being a part of history, Minnesota used to grow lots and lots of hemp.
Lots of hemp. Yeah.
I mean, there was whole cities that were growing hemp.
Yeah, because for the World War II effort, we needed it for the cordage for the war.
Yeah.
And it was in the University of Minnesota used to have a medicinal plants garden.
Yeah.
They used to grow cannabis in there, do research on it as like for its analgesic properties.
Do you remember when it stopped?
I think it was into the 40s or 50s. It was actually after the legality kind of pushed it away.
Okay. Yeah, because it was 41.
After the Tax
It got
Act.
kicked out of the pharmaceutical book.
And then there was a guy at the U that was Bob Robinson. He was in the ag department. He was growing it up into the 70s.
Awesome.
Hemp, at least.
Good for you, Bob.
As like an orphan crop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Minnesota has a long history. We've had there's a Bell Museum herbarium specimens that date back to I think it's 1868. Minnesota was incorporated into the United States in 1858. So it goes back entirely to our state's incorporation into the Union or whatever. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, so we
I
have
love
a
history.
long history of cannabis production in Minnesota.
And now a very long future.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of fun how these ebbs and tides or whatever of legality, and we find use in the crop, and then there's some stigma, and then there's some use again. This is good for pain and anxiety, and hemp came along, and then now we're kind of on this upward trend of like normalization.
Yeah, right. It's definitely been a ride, as they would say.
A long one.
It's way too long.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Ours has definitely been a long one too. I mean, since 2019, to make it to here, and who would have thought with, like, how do I even say it? We applied for our license August 12th, 24. People thought it would come sooner, and then there was lawsuits to the state, and then like the things that happened for us to then get our license on August 12th, 2025. You can't tell me things aren't connected.
Yeah. That's some synergy there.
Yeah, we love it.
So what do you think about the rollout? So some people have been saying this is like a crazy long rollout. Because what was it? Arizona. They went from legality to selling cannabis in 81 days. We've got, what is it? Is it Missouri? Yeah, Missouri passed their law after ours, and they're already selling flower. So it's like we're kind of in this weird like we're moving turtle speed.
Yeah, we
Or
are.
being meticulous.
So the only thing that I try to be positive about, I feel like, is if Minnesota has taken this long to build a framework avoiding pitfalls due to the federal rules, that we will have a thriving business in 10 years. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, many markets have been failing. Look at Michigan. Okay, Michigan's great. Everyone loves going there and getting, weed for a great price, but now it's average 60 an ounce? Businesses are failing. So I look at it a little different than a consumer now, but man, is it taking forever. It is.
As a business owner, you just want to
Yeah.
get out there and start.
So are the people. So it has also confused the people, because at these city events, people don't understand why it's taking forever, and people feel like it's legal, so they'll get it from wherever. And let's face it, people have been buying weed illegally forever. So it has, in a way, stimulated the black market the way they didn't want to. But I'm really hoping that we will see, as regulations come out, we will see that change. We will see that change. I'm all for everybody growing it. I'm all for you giving it to your friends, your family. I'm all for it. But now that I am in this business aspect, I do favor a good framework that will be sustainable, and maybe it will get declassified soon. And we'll see a whole new bunch of federal regulations. I don't know. It's an ever adapting industry, right? You better get on and hold on for the ride. That's all I got to say.
But I think you dropped a gem there. Is that I think the Minnesota's bill and the way that they're setting it up, although slow, I do think lends itself to small business. I don't think that our system is going to allow for a lot of these large MSOs to come there, cut prices, keep prices low, push the little guy out. I think that we are going to have a vibrant craft, small business marketplace where you can be around 10 or 20 years and make a long-term living in this industry here in Minnesota.
I sure hope so. I mean, I committed.
Yeah.
2023, when August 1st came and we legalized, I committed to Lucky Strains because we'd already been up a year. And it was like, how is this not supposed to be? We set up shop August 1st, 2022, and August 1st, 2023, they legalized it.
Yes.
So I'm all for it being forever. If it takes a little bit of time, now it's going to be a memory eventually.
Yeah, this is definitely a marathon and
it's
not
a
sprint.
marathon. Yes, and we're going to try to have a documentary called The Green Marathon.
All right.
Not just try, we're doing it.
I'm excited for that documentary. I think that
all right.
Yeah, it's just like how things have changed, because you've been in it since it was since 2019, right? Just how much changes every year.
Yeah.
Not in terms of just the policy, but like how the marketplace shifts. Because I was going through the other day. I was going through the how on Facebook you've got those like messages where people it says like the people you may know are trying to message you or whatever, not your main message box. But I had reached out to a guy like years ago, or he reached out to me trying to sell me some CBD distillate. And it was like $12,000 a kilo or something ridiculous. And so I just saw that and I had a chuckle and I had to message him. I'm like, man, how things have changed. But it's like, it's like what, $700 or less now for some CBD distillate. And it's funny how markets can change, how the culture can change.
Oh yeah.
And how fast it's happening here.
How fast? Yeah. Uh-huh.
And speaking of market, like you've had your store open for how long now?
So the store's been open almost 2 years.
Almost
so we
2
opened the
years.
store January of 24.
What are people gravitating to when they come into your store? Like, what products are people like maybe surprising to you that like, wow, I can't believe that this is something they buy? Or are you totally, this is what you expected?
So number one reason people come in the store is sleep.
Okay.
So, and we kind of expected that, but we didn't know it would be so prevalent. So that seeing that and kind of pointing them to some sleep gummies, seeing which ones work, which ones people are coming back for. But yeah, much more of that. And everyone, normally comes in, wants flower and vape. So it's, we're trying to lead them. A lot of newcomers, they just need to experiment some.
And then what applications are you like, man, I didn't realize that, is it the gummies, or like what applications are people more leaning towards?
Yeah, what people are getting the most benefits from with sleep.
Okay.
I think it's because they're lasting the longest.
Okay.
But people have gotten the sleep drinks, and they mainly, I feel like, are for helping get to sleep.
For me, the sleep drinks, I can't finish it before I fall asleep. So then it's just sitting, creating fruit flies on
You're getting your money's worth, right?
Am I though?
Sort of.
Because then I got this, no more carbonation, or it's flat or taste weird the next day. So I think a gummy or a little candy is like a lot easier for me, because I actually don't have trouble sleeping. So
Sure.
any type of sleep additive, I'm just like out before it's time. But I'm just curious, like what people are out here doing.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. And then, seeing people excited to see something new, like pretzels and things, because they've had chocolates and gummies, for a while. And then they see some pretzels, or they see a peanut butter cookie type thing, or see something new. They go for it just because it's new.
Right.
Yeah. So people are definitely ready for some new stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So I guess what are some takeaways you wanna leave us with before we wrap this up?
Takeaways. Well, remember, Lucky Strains is always for the community. That's the biggest takeaway. We want to give back. We want to give discounts. We want to get this medicine in the hands of the people. So people relate to that. People know that when we tell them we try all the products before they go on the shelf, and some don't make the cut, they understand that we care that the product tastes decent, even if they don't care for the effects. So like I said, we get a lot of first comers. I mean, majority of our demographic is 40 and up, and we have a lot of 60, 70. We've had 90-year-olds that regularly get stuff because it helps them eliminate some of their other medication, whether it's just for inflammation or what. So, yeah, we're all about getting it to the people.
So I was on your podcast months ago. Can you remind us what the name of your podcast is and where people can find it?
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. It's short and sweet, but it's Strain of the Month. We didn't do one in August. Very busy with, getting ready for the license inspection. But next month, I actually got the mayor coming on for next month. Yeah, she's been supportive. We'll say that. Her mom enjoys the products. Another. What is that era? That's pretty much a boomer era now, a little bit older maybe. And from her mom to her son, they enjoy the products. So
generational consumption.
It definitely crosses generational lines. Yeah.
And where on social media can we find you? Lucky Strains?
The big ones, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the primary ones. Google is kind of social media now, but if you've ever been to Lucky Strains, help us out with a Google review. Those are the hardest ones to get, but they help the most. Almost everyone that comes in, I ask them, how'd you find us? A sign, a friend tell you, or Google Maps. And most people are dispensary near me. That's how they find us.
Dope.
Yeah. And, online, it's lucky_strains. You can find almost all of our stuff. And our website is luckystrains.gives. Check it out. We also got a little discount when Minnesota wins, you win. So every time the Minnesota teams, Vikings, Timberwolves, Twins, Gophers, United, Lynx, you get a discount the next day.
You're going to have to check out some Lucky Strains.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, Philly, we appreciate your time. It's been awesome to have you on the podcast and learn about, the things evolving in your business and get to know you a little bit better. And, we'll be right back.
Are you building a licensed cannabis business in Minnesota? Don't go it alone. North Star Consulting has launched the North Star Accelerator Program to give you the roadmap, support, and connections to launch your venture successfully. Each week, you can join a live call with industry expert Jen Randolph-Riza, getting answers while working alongside a community of founders on the same journey as you. Plus, members save time and money with vetted referrals and group discounts on essentials like banking, tech, insurance, and POS systems. Join the North Star Accelerator for the advice you trust, the referrals you need, and the structure to grow together. Learn more and apply to join up at northstarcannabisconsulting.com.
We're back with the Minnesota Cannabis College's Northern Lights podcast here at the Dabbler Depot off West 7th. We've got two guests in the house today, as well as our co-host, Alicia. We've got Bryant, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on at MCTC and then his successful Can Train grant. We've got Zach from Midwest Famous. So we'll just get right into it. So, Zach, can you give us a little bit about your background in the cannabis industry? Like what brought you to working in cannabis?
It was unexpected, actually. My first cannabis event I worked was the Doobie Dabbler last year, doing a fill-in for On Point and doing sales for Jesse Ventura Farms and Retro Bakery and all those guys at that booth. And I started doing tastings here and there, and I was at a tasting, and the owner of Midwest Famous was there, and she was like, "Oh, I really like you. You know, can you come work with us? Do you work with other brands?" And I was like, "Yeah, not a problem. I'd love to." And came in and seen that where she was at, and she didn't really have like a sales team. She was doing it all on her own, and she was killing it, but on her own, and that's a lot for, as you guys know, it's a lot. So I stepped in as her sales director and got her about 50 more accounts, in a couple months. Then we jumped into distribution, and here I am as their events coordinator and sales director. And now I kind of dabble in brokering deals and connecting people and getting everybody together. And that's my main love of this game, is to connect people and watch everybody grow and shine. I just love that.
So tell us a little bit about Midwest Famous.
So Maggie and her partner who own it, they were sitting back one day and they were drinking beverages, and they realized that the THC beverages don't really have much substance. It was just seltzers with a little bit of flavoring, and they kind of got you high. And Maggie, being an award-winning bartender, she's like, I can make something better and something with some substance. And out came her Blood Orange Italian Spritz and her Spicy Ranch Water, which are unlike any, her Spicy Ranch Water is unlike any other THC beverage out there. It's actually spicy, So it's different.
So I guess what have been, some challenges to growing the business that you've seen with Maggie?
I mean, I think everybody thinks that every cannabis company has just a ton of money.
Oh, my God.
And that is the biggest misconception in this. Everybody's a startup. There's very few brands that have a bunch of financial backing. And being a startup, you can only grow so much, and in pieces. And I think she's executing it great right now. We're going to be launching a third beverage. We are in 9 different states. We are in distribution in 4. She's growing as she can, and she's killing it. I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge, is growth with financials. It costs money to grow. So, and then along with that, it's the rules changing on the cans, and you get cans made for 4 runs, and then OCM changes a rule, and now you have to have a certain label on your can, and those are some hiccups and headaches that we run into.
The growth pains, and
how
fast this industry changes and how fast policies can change.
Trying to keep everybody safe.
So so this is like cannabis, at least as a profession, is new. What is your favorite thing about working in the cannabis industry?
All the great people I've gotten to meet. Throughout my life, even before this, I can count on one hand maybe how many people came into my life because of booze that I have currently still in my life. But I'd need a couple hands to share the number that cannabis has brought into my life, and I keep those people, and it's brought in so many good people. Like, that's probably the best part.
I'd have to agree. I think getting to do events with you, we were at Sergio's thing, and you won wet T-shirt contest.
What's your favorite way to consume cannabis?
Oh, dabs for sure. A little
for
hash
sure.
rosin out of my Puffco.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
There's something about that terp profile
Oh my
that just
gosh.
is.
Fresh flower, hash rosin, whatever you're taking, fresh press.
I'm telling you,
Ooh.
as a cultivator, that's what you want. You know, you fall in love with that plant in the cultivation room, and then
Yes,
you want to give it to everyone, and then you lose some of it during cure. But you get it all recaptured when you get in that concentrate. That's
Yep.
what I love about it.
See, I can't cure. So, what I grow is going to be concentrated.
Well, it's a
Because-
good way around it.
You know, you can have a beautiful looking bud, but if you can't cure it,
There you go. You lose it all.
you got a tabletop piece right there.
Tastes like hay.
Some filler.
All right, so let's transition a little over to Bryant. Can you tell people what you've been up to since you were on the podcast recently? I know that you've been doing some big things over at MCTC.
Yeah, man.
Got a successful grant accepted through OCM, the Can
super
Train
happy
grant.
about that. That's
Proud of you.
that was a work in progress, man. We've been working on this program for over a year now. It feels like 2 even. It's the whole process of getting real accredited education to people, you know, and it was just slow. And when you learn what's going on with the bureaucracies and funding was a big thing, and now it's not, you know. So we're super happy about that. Like, it took us, I'm not gonna lie, like we cranked it out real fast because the OCM is the best at putting out dates, right? That's what we're gonna say. They're the best at it.
They're
So
the best.
yeah, so we had plenty of time to prepare. We had plenty of time to get everybody assembled, but we really didn't. But, you know, we cranked it out, and we got the whole amount that we were going for. We needed a whole $500,000 to get stuff moving. We're building out this program that's going to be able to be accessible to everyone, for everyone. We're going to teach people how to cultivate, how to be associated with the plant as promulgated in the rules. So anybody who is of proper age, you know, we're going to teach you how to everything from make cold water hash at home. Since we're a hash state, we don't want solvents. So if you're at home and you're processing your stuff,
Yes, sir.
there you go.
Yes, sir.
Promoted by the state of Minnesota. But no, so the real objective around this is to get people to have a standard knowledge of cannabis in this state in whatever area they choose to pursue. So me as a cultivation expert, and also owner and operator in the space for so long, picked up a lot of skills, which is cool. You don't expect to do all the stuff you do, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, you know, is the stuff that we pursued in college, it's spilled into so much other stuff, you know, and we've become jacks of trades in many aspects of the industry. And so we're able to actually coalesce that knowledge and give it to people because we've come to find out that the stuff that we know should be standard, right? And at least serve as a base knowledge for people to either progress on or to convey that knowledge to other people. And this is education. You know, we want to get in the minds of everyone. So so we're starting with cultivation. It's not necessarily just cultivation, it's cultivation management. So we wanted the layman even to be able to get off the couch, come through our program, and at the end of the day, have the confidence to cultivate cannabis either at home or apply for a job as a cultivation manager.
This is cool. So you're like putting all of the basic information somebody should know or go to college for into a single course. So it's not like when we had to go, we were like, oh, now I got to take plant OChem and or plant biochem, and this is, I'm gonna have to put all these things together into one spot to learn all these subjects. It's like it'll actually be a program somebody could take if they're interested in cannabis business or cannabis production and cultivation.
Exactly, yeah. So we're after cannabis cultivation management, we plan to move to the analytical cannabis, and into the extractions. So we feel like those are the next progressions, and then naturally, in tandem, we've already started sort of the cannabis business course. So it's just a single course, but we plan to have this be part of the suite, which will give people a diploma, right? At the end of the day, we want people to be able to walk with a certificate. Well, it'll be a diploma, 16 credits. You'll be able to get your financial aid from it, which is a huge thing. So this is one of the things so we're different than most other cannabis education, where I call those kind of online deep dive, money grab type things that a lot of these companies go around state to state once they come on and they offer these online courses with hopes of actually educating people. And I've come to find out cannabis is a hands-on plant. It's a hands-on industry. Conveying the things that you need to know through a screen with something that you need to connect with other people. There's a huge disconnect in that conveyance of knowledge.
Right.
So from the jump, I needed to have a program that was in person.
And there will be plant touching?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
we won't be using type 2 cannabis. This will all be type 1 cannabis, industrial hemp,
Okay.
right? So it'll be type 1 cannabis, but it'll be technically type 3 and 4 because we'll be using things that are specialized in certain cannabinoids, which are all legal, you know. So we'll be able, but the only difference is that industrial hemp tends to not have the morphology needed to convey the knowledge for someone who would be managing a canopy indoors. So the morphology of most industrial hemp doesn't go along with the 2-foot size plants that we 2x2 that we want in cultivation. So we'll be using different types of cannabis that are legal one, but follow that type of morphology that people are able to use as a facsimile.
Right.
So
Just like, going to medical school, you don't necessarily use a cadaver every time.
exactly.
You use different tools that give you the gist of it, and then when you're in the field, that's when you really get it.
Yep. Skills are easily interchangeable. At the end of the day, these plants are C3 plants. They want to fix the carbon in our atmosphere to a chain of 3 sugars, and then they want to store that extra hydrogen they get from water for nutrient uptake later on. And that's the whole objective of photosynthesis and what plants do. So the cool thing about these courses, these accoutrement of courses, is that they will coalesce into this diploma that employers will be able to say, oh, at least you know X, Y, and Z about this, right? And we're trying to build this in our state because Minnesota had the foresight enough to know that we're going to need to build a workforce. If you're erecting, a business, a new type of business, you need people to work said business. And to say it'd be irresponsible to not invest in that. So Minnesota, we came up with these different types of grants, and the Can Train one was the one that we went for to help support this. And building out this program is going to literally bolster our workforce here. And then on top of that, it's accredited. Like, it's not some online stuff. You get to come to school. Right. Some days, imagine waking up and you're like, what are you doing in school today? Oh, we're working on cold water hash.
Right.
Don't you want to come to class?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I might fail it just so I can take it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Granted, we'll be working with plants that are fully legal, but you'll be able to take these facsimiles home. It works the same. The molecules are basically the same. And
even work it into the plan that way, where you're like kind of having that specimen at home that is legally to grow at home,
Mm-hmm.
and going by side, using the program that are the facsimiles and then having that at home. And then you can even, that's how I would do it. That's how I would take the class.
Correct. Yeah, I would encourage that. You are fully encouraged to grow your 8 plants, and if you want to do that alongside what we're doing in school, if you're of legal age and everything checks out, 100%, I implore that. You know, I want
This is a question. Do you have to be 21 plus to take this career track, or
So 21 plus to work in the industry.
it is? Yes.
Yeah.
So then, as an MCTC, it's a college. You could go, assumingly at a young birthday, you could be there at 18, right?
Yeah.
So then, can you take the classes in hope? You know what I'm trying to say. Do you have to be 21 to take the classes, or
So you would want to be 21 to get in the industry. That's just the state law. But if you're at home and you know, I can't control what people do at home. At the end of the day, you know, we don't encourage or condone any of that. But you know,
But he's not saying at home. He's saying, can I, you know, I'm 18 years old. Can I
I'm 18 years
sign
old.
up?
I want to work in the cannabis industry when I'm 21.
You'd be sitting on that degree though for a little bit.
yeah, you'd be sitting on it a little bit. But at the same time, you could, you know, that's the cool thing about the cannabis industry. You don't have to get into drug type right away. We have a robust CBD industry. So yeah, you can be 18, and if you have you can get in on family farms. You know, you can work the plants that way. That's where you can. That'd be the workaround there. You wouldn't be in the shop because that still has 21 plus implications. But family farms are out there. They're harvesting hemp. I remember you remember, you know, you're harvesting hemp every year. We need people out here bucking these plants, you know. So there's things that you can do is what I'm saying. There's things you can do to get ready, prepare yourself. And one of the things that you could do is say you turn 18 and you want to take the course, and that'd be roughly 18 months. You know, it would put you in a place to at least get you set up to maybe go to college, right? So we're going to be teaching things that are horticulturally sound. So we have an articulation agreement. We're going to work on an articulation agreement with the university, right? So we're going to be teaching things that are horticulturally sound and what you would get in a beginning horticulture class at the university. So at the end of the day, working clones and working prepubescent plants is the same, and you'd be able to translate those skills and at least go to college a little bit if you wanted to, and get you started in the industry. But yeah, there's no real way to work around the 21 plus. I wish there was. Medically, I believe if you have a medical use, then you're under 18, you can use cannabis, but I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that if you're not legal.
So you're also on the Cannabis Advisory Commission, the council at Office of Cannabis Management. Can you tell the people a little bit about that, and like what are some new things you guys are working on?
Yeah, so on the Cannabis Advisory Council, my title is the expert in cannabis cultivation. So I advise the council on things that are cultivation related. And we've been working on ways to be more effective in our roles. So we've designed ways to break out into smaller, more focused groups, focus on things that are arising in the industry, and put forth recommendations to the OCM. Now, they're just recommendations. It's not like we have authority to change rules or anything like that, but addressing things like the labeling on the cans, right? That's something that we're working on because we know we know how much it costs small operators to keep up with that. And we're working on solutions that are...
Or changing the color.
Yeah, that'll be cost effective because a lot of cannabis rules in place are always made without the input of an expert. And you would be surprised how many rules, and this goes for most rules and laws, they're often made without the input of an expert or someone who's on the ground, right? So the cool thing about our CAC is that it's 50 plus people, many different perspectives, and we're able to, and we were working on like, okay, so we have such a big group, how are we going to be able to be effective? And we figured breaking out in these smaller groups and focusing on things that we know are painting the industry. We're fully aware of the labels. We're fully aware of new pathogens in the industry. I was talking to Clem about Cryptococcus neoformans. This is
It's killing people.
it's
They're
the
killing a
second-
person.
Yeah, it killed a person. So
Tell me more about that, because that's
I wanna
new to
hear
me.
about this.
yeah, so hot in the industry right now is, cannabis is always touted as safest to use. No deaths. We've had no deaths in human history from an overdose, but recently in the past 10 years, we've had 2 deaths attributed to cannabis use, and they all trace back to certain types of fungal infections. And if anyone who didn't skip chemistry and biology class remembers, the fungal family is very vast, very smart, and is very good at what they do, right? And we don't have all the detection equipment, or even you don't know what you don't know sometimes, right? And this is one of those cases. We weren't looking for something, and we had the technology to detect it, but we weren't necessarily looking for it. So long story short, you have a medical cannabis patient who passed away in Philadelphia from Cryptococcus neoformans. And this was especially sinister because this was not adult use cannabis. This was provided for a medical patient who had pre-existing conditions but had chosen a certain treatment path, right? And this stuff is cultured in this patient's throat, cause pneumonia, cause a person to die.
How was that ingested, or how was it consumed?
So dry flower,
Dry flour.
flower, irradiated dry flower, I believe. So this is what was bad about it. So the flower was remediated, it was tested, but not all pathogens can be detected right up front. So with our assay methods and ways of enriching bacteria in order to accelerate growth, we overlooked this one. And this one takes 5 days to grow in our media. So the implications for that is 5 days of testing just to grow this fungus in order to test for it right. So this has implications on the industry, right? So if we need to retool our detection methods, but now it includes 5 days of culturing, this has implications for the whole industry, because we don't want this to happen in Minnesota. We don't want our medically sensitive people to contract anything that we are unintentionally growing in cannabis. It's not like it was intentional. These people were growing cannabis based off the rules that they were supposed to be doing.
And it was tested.
And I believe it was remediated as well. I have to double check that. But this person contracted Cryptococcus neoformans and passed away, unfortunately. So now we have 2 deaths. So we're going to make sure that our detection methods in Minnesota are at least bolstered to detect this. There are some few other things.
So my question though is like, do we need? So the thing is, we went and toured White Earth recently. They had an irradiator, but some questions that I was asking them that I just don't think they were grasping on is like, let's say you do start at this blank slate. That packaging you bought is not sterile. The environment of which you put it in there, that room is not sterile. Is the packaging completely, truly, honestly sealed? Like, have you seen like what a pre-roll comes in? Mm-hmm. Like, that's not completely
It's not hermetically
sealed.
sealed.
It's not hermetically sealed. So it's like, does it really matter if we test these things right away, or should it be tested at the point of sale a month in, 2 months in, 3 months in? Because like you're saying, it's hard to detect in this irradiation period. Mm-hmm. Plus, it takes a bunch of time to grow. Mm-hmm. If it does exist, it's probably getting in, post them sending that test sample off.
Yeah,
because they're sending it off in the best, the best version of itself.
Exactly. Yeah, void of endophytes as well. And that's like you said, that what's taking the space of those things. We know how saprophytes work. If you get rid of one, something else is going to move in. That's just how they work. Either they're obligatory or they're not. And in most cases in cannabis, you have obligate saprophytes that feed on dead tissue or want to make tissue dead so that they can live. And so we were overly focused on aflatoxins because that was the first death. We had black aflatoxins that got in the lungs, caused a problem. And the next big thing that we were looking for was in the world of fusarium, but we weren't even looking at cryptococcus. And it's just one of those things that happen, like just like we're finding about hops latent viroid. We didn't know about it, but it's always been here. But it wasn't until we were over monocropping this plant and we were able to focus HLV's symptoms on a plant. We're like, hold on, this is not what we thought it was. This is terrible. HLV will shut an operation down, you know, and it's always been here. But it's just one of those things that we learn when we focus our energies on growing this one plant. And I guarantee you there's going to be more fungal infections. Fungus is just like that. Like, we don't know how to detect for things for everything, right? And
Right.
it's just one of those things. But hopefully we can get that in our testing methods here and stay on top of it, because we want to be, sensitive to our medical patients.
And to the whole community. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that only affects people that are sensitive or medically sensitive, if that would affect everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about fungus, you could be completely healthy. And if you're the right person with the right genome at the right time with the right conditions, bad stuff happens.
Right.
That's just how they work.
A new fear unlocked. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of the fungal kingdom, but I do give it respect.
Right.
So I guess we'll switch over. We'll take some turns talking about the news.
Yeah.
So recently they picked the permanent leader of the OCM, Eric Taubel, who was the interim head of the OCM, is now permanent leader, permanent high commissioner.
Yep. Commander in high. It's our high chief.
But yeah, I think one of our interviews on today's episode was with Philly from Lucky Strains. They're just starting to get these licenses out to people. I think there's a projection to have about 150 licenses out by the end of the year. So it's like, how do we see the market space now that things are finally happening?
Things are moving. The nuts and bolts of it are retails will probably be out first, just because there's a lot of build out that's going to be necessary. And then we don't want to even talk about how gerrymandered the city is in terms of cultivation and retail co-locating. So we created this license to be able to be very cost effective to the little guy. And because of zoning, most people in the micro will have to have 2 addresses, just because a lot of the places where cultivation is okay for businesses as well are around areas that, one, need to be remediated, so you have to put a bunch of money into bringing this building up to code. 2, the businesses that were there before have left behind heavy metals, and we all know cannabis is a heavy metal remediator. If there's heavy metals present, cannabis is going to find it, and we can't get past cadmium, lead, all the arsenic. We can't get past all those things. And so a lot of these areas are around destitute areas that are not promotive of people coming in and having a cool experience getting their cannabis, right? You don't want to go next to this dark railroad track, next to this destitute paper mill, to go, like, come on, man.
It doesn't sound like progress.
No. And then the areas that are just not the best for open business like that. So beyond that, the retails that do get open, they're going to have to get around the hurdle of finding a source that is up to date in their metric. So that's going to be the next big hurdle for people. Like, yeah, you got open, but what are you going to put in here? Because nobody's growing anything yet outside of the natives, which, more power to them. If you got connections and you can get in with them, I'm sure they're open for business for people. But you've got to make those connections, and then you've got to supply yourself. And then, as a micro, you've got to, now I believe most micros are having to decide between retail and cultivation, when the intention of the license was to be able to do both. And then not be a tax on your pocket in any kind of way, right?
'Cause that's where we're at. I got a micro. I found the space to do a dispensary in Minneapolis. We'll be on 51st and Hiawatha, but yeah, it's not zoned to grow.
Nope.
So it's just like having to find a whole nother location to do it all.
Yep.
And then going from spot to spot, me and Zach went to one in St. Paul. They want $10,000 for a shell of a thing. Like it doesn't.
It needs $100,000.
Yeah, it needs
And
$100,000 just to even maybe make it decent.
Man,
Maybe.
I'll tell you.
Maybe.
I'll tell you another story. There's small towns who are wanting to charge micro businesses money to improve their municipalities. So, long story short, a group of people wanted to open a dispensary and cultivations, right? And they put in with a small town, remaining ambiguous for a reason. And the small town, their answer was to say, okay, if you want to put your dispensaries and stuff there, even though this will bring money to the town, we're going to make you guys pay for all the street lights and signal lights and street signs that were to go in these areas. This isn't their property. This is what the city should be doing, right? Yeah. But we're talking about $450,000 that these small businesses would have to pull together to pay for these things, just so that they might be able to place their businesses there. So
those little words are not cool with me. The mights and the maybes.
Exactly.
If I'm putting all this money up, I want some definite.
And then on top of that, if I'm paying for the street light, if for whatever reason my business fails or moves,
Right.
is that street light mine? I'm leaving with it.
Can I repo that? Like,
I'm
no.
unscrewing it. I paid for this.
Right.
This is mine. I'm at least taking the red light, the red, yellow, and green part for my Misty Rogers shrine.
Right.
Shoot. Because that was not cool. But no, they're doing stuff to like suppress small businesses and like remain. I was at a small town meeting and a business another time. He was going for we're gonna put in our business. And you know what the commissioner said?
What's that?
He leaned over to his people and said, "Isn't cannabis federally illegal?" So this is where the minds are of these small towns. They still think cannabis is illegal. Like, why would we be having a meeting in town hall? Everybody in his town hall had to lean over. Was like, no, actually, they legalized cannabis. We can talk about this. He was like, oh, I didn't even. Mind you, he's the head of the city. And we got people like this making these decisions.
It wasn't his local paper, that's why.
So, yeah, with the zoning, I mean, there are hurdles that were unknowns to us when we set out. You know, sometimes they say the path to hell is paved with gold bricks. You know, we tried to do so much good, and the other side got a hold of the bill when it got passed and put a bunch of the language in there. You know what the other side is.
Oh, that's why I moved my head.
Yeah. And they put a bunch of stuff in there. So now we are where we are, and then we have small towns who are either not properly informed or just living in the reefer badness days, and they're dealing with cannabis as such, which is a bad thing. You know, if we need the OCM that's something else that we're working on too, is being able to reach out to these small rural towns and explain to them the current state of affairs. Mm-hmm. This is what they can and can't do. You're going to have people coming in who can do these businesses, and you can't discriminate against them. You should not discriminate against them. This is a plant approved by the state. It is not a new use. It's a new plant, right? We've done horticulture. We've done agriculture. That's what else I heard in the small town, is that they're calling cannabis cultivation a new use, right? So if you go with that type of rhetoric, we know there's a new type of corn, there's a new type of soy, there's a new type of beets introduced almost every year. So when those new crops come in, are they dictated as new use as well? No. But you're saying cannabis, just because it's being cultivated, is a new use? No, it's just a new plant, right? So
it's a new plant.
It's a new plant. It's not a new use. So if that's the case, then all the new versions of corn and beets and soy shouldn't be able to be cultivated in these small towns either, if that's the way they're looking at it. So it's going to take more outreach, more education, and hopefully we can get to an area where everybody's on the same page and this industry can thrive like it's supposed to.
Right.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Bryant. Thanks, Zach, for coming out. Tell us about the Cannabis Advisory Council, the Can Train Grant, Midwest Famous. We appreciate having you guys in the studio.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
the snow. What I can't stand is the ice.
Oh yeah, I'm too old for ice now.
Yeah, the ice
You're too big
is.
for ice.
I'm too big and too old now.
I'm too fragile for ice.
By the way, Clem, I didn't get the Tesla truck.
You didn't go with it? I didn't either.
You know why? Did you see the film on that thing in snow? It is awful.
Is it? Yeah.
I saw my son. He called me up. He said, "Dad, before you go get that Tesla truck, you better come over here and look at what I'm seeing." Went over to his house. Here's a big Tesla. 2 inches of snow. It couldn't get out on the road. All 4 tires are spinning. And what happens? They create their own ice trap.
Yep.
Musk is so focused on speed. He doesn't realize you don't buy a truck for speed. You buy it for work, for power. And his torque and power is so hard. The 4 wheels spin right away. Well, as Minnesotans, if you got 2 inches of snow, that turns into 2 inches of ice. It makes its own ice trap. This thing couldn't even get out from the curb. And there were people driving by, you could hear on their cell phones going, "Hey, you better call Elon and tell him to send a tow truck." You're listening to this. And I thought, how freaking embarrassing. Have this big, massive Tesla truck and it can't even get out on the road in 2 inches of snow. So I bought a Chevy.
You want Chevy?
Chevy
truck?
electric.
Nice.
Phenomenal. Gets 440 miles.
Is that the new Silverado?
Huh?
Is that the new Silverado?
Yeah. Yep. It's in the body of the Cadillac
The Escalade.
Escalade. It's an Escalade body, but it's electric. I just took it cross country. For all of you to know, you don't have to fear a thing. Because I got out there and thought, oh my God, I'm out here with electricity now. What if I run out of power? I'm going to Tucson and back. Get out in Kansas or somewhere, ain't nothing there. But I learned you don't have to sweat a thing. You know why? Every Walmart has charging stuff. What city over 10,000 don't have Walmart? All you got to do when you're out there, look for Walmart. And you can charge up anywhere because they'll have chargers on their parking lot. Awesome. They've got a contract with Electrify America.
That's awesome.
So if you go electric, just don't worry about it because all you got to do is find Walmart.
I've been thinking about it because I've been trying to find a truck that I like, an electric truck.
Oh, I highly.
Because I wanted one of those Cybertrucks so bad, and then it was just like, I don't know.
Look at the Chevy. Because, in fact, Ty showed me this. This guy tested all the electric trucks, all of them. And to show you at the start of it, he showed his garage, and he had 4 Teslas, but not the truck, to show you he's a Tesla guy. But he did not recommend the Tesla truck. He said, right now, the Chevy truck is the best one out there. I took mine out. Now, they'll only let you charge between up to 80%. Well, that gets me between 360 and 400 miles. I got news for you. At the end of 300 miles, you're ready to take a break. You need a break. You need to go to the bathroom. You need to walk the dog. You need to stretch your leg. It makes you drive safer because you take breaks. No, I'd recommend Chevy.
I'm going to have to go check them out.
Oh, yeah. I went over. I got one, and I'm as pleased as I can be with it.
Awesome.
And that Google talks to you.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It got my wife has a little memory trouble, and it faked her out so bad one day. She said, "Who was in the car with us today?" And I said, "The dog. He don't let nobody else in there. Are you kidding me?" Because I got a Belgian Malinois. He don't let nobody in. And she said, "Well, God, who are you talking to all morning?" I said, "That's the Google lady." But that's how realistic it is. All I do is get in the truck, and I'll say, "Hey, Google." And Google, "Good morning. What can I do?" I said, and I'll say, I'll rattle off the address, and the lady will say, "Would you like a map to that?" "Yes." Up comes the map. And then when you're driving, you can I'll say, "Hey, Google." "Yes." She'll come back, talk to you. "I need a charging station in 100 miles. Boom. She'll give an option. Will come 3 or 4 of them. You read on them. They give descriptions, fast, slow, da-da-da-da. Pick the one you want. Google will say, "Would you like a map to that charging station?" "Yes." it'll bring you to 10 feet. You'll come up there and it's on your right, and there it'll be. And you're generally in a Walmart parking lot. But
Right.
Dabs, I highly recommend the Chevy.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, check out the Chevy.
I need a new car so bad.
I'm going to test drive cars this week.
Oh, I'll tell you, that the big Chevy truck. And then what else is neat, too, it goes up and down with you. Like when you park it, it lowers. So when you get in, then it goes up, and you ride big and high up there. Trying to think of what other things. Oh, there's so many.
Does it self-park or anything like that?
What's that?
Does it self-park or anything like that? I'm curious.
I
don't know about it.
You know, I'm computer illiterate. I've never owned a cell phone.
Well, you got to
So
talk
when
to
I
Google
get in these
about
cars, it's like an experiment for me. I'm in there going, Jesus, what do you touch now? I'm always calling him up, saying, Ty, I need help. Get me the radio back.
What did you have for the?
I had a 2014 Chevy Silverado, big 4 with the longest bed. And get this, here's one for you. When I drove to Tucson originally with that first truck, I took one complete truckload of stuff down. But I had to get rid of that truck because the garages they built in this development are too short. The truck wouldn't fit in. So the new Chevy would. It was this much shorter than that other one. So I could pull it right to the wall, and I'd have about that much room to shut my garage door, right? But I came time to leave, and I'm selling the place, so I loaded I thought, oh, God, what am I going to have to leave behind? Because this bed isn't as big as the original one. Well, guess what? The new truck holds more. No, you know what I forgot about? The front. I put 6 bags up where you normally got an engine. You pop the front, I put 6 bags up there, opened up my back end to where I had more space than I ever needed.
Awesome.
So the new truck actually holds more than the old one because you don't have to deal with the engine. That's a storage spot. We took all the stuff we used, like bags for the motels, put it in the front, never even had to open the back. The back stayed locked up the whole trip. Everything we needed, we just popped the front hood. I put 5 to 6 bags in the front.
I know what I'm doing later this week.
I just say go look at the Chevy and drive one.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to. Yeah.
And they're big enough, they'll fit you.
I need a big
You'll
one.
fit nice in it. You'll fit nice in it, Doc.
Yeah, so we're back with our special edition of the Northern Lights podcast with co-host Alicia. We've got a guest host, Zach, from Midwest Famous, and, we've got the one and only former governor, Jesse Ventura. Excited to, talk about cannabis and what's new with Jesse Ventura Farms.
What's new? I don't know. You got to talk to my son. I should put him on the mic. No, Ventura Farms is going good. It was a new project, something new and different, and it was something that my son and his partners put together. And really, I don't take a real hands-on thing with it. I let them take care of it because it's theirs. I'm just providing the name and the brand, and the fact that I do have a bit of a reputation in the cannabis world in Minnesota because I was the governor who tried to legalize it way back at the turn of the century, and fortunately for all of us, I lit a small flame. And there were people that kept that little flame burning. And pretty soon that little flame grew. And it turned into a fire. And pretty soon the fire got the attention enough. And I'll never forget the day I got the phone call from Governor Walz. Awesome. He called me at home and he said, Governor, he said, I think you need to be down in my office Monday morning at noon, 11 or noon. And I replied back, what for? I don't like going down there anymore. And he said, no, this time, he said, I think you should come down here. And I said, well, again, I repeated, what is this about? He said, well, it's something that you tried to do 20 years ago, and it took that long with government, but it showed that with persistency, it might take 20 years, but it can happen. He said, tomorrow I will be signing ending the prohibition of marijuana in the state of Minnesota. And he said, I think you should be over my right shoulder so that when I sign it, I will hand you the pen. Because he said, this was your idea. And he said, and it's now coming to be a fact. And he said, in our business, sometimes it's very rare where you can leave office and see the fruits of your labor happen 20 years later and still be alive to see it happen. And he said, you're still alive. You deserve to be down here to see it happen. And I don't regret it. I just wish they'd eliminate all this red tape and just be simple with us. Treat us the same as alcohol. Come on. It ain't hard. You don't have to get all confusing out there. You sell booze, you can sell marijuana. Plain and simple. Put them under the same damn rules. And all, you know, I remember when I went over there, and of course you got to fight with the Republicans. And I asked the head Republican, what's the problem here? And he said, well, we need more studies. I said, no, we don't. Go to Israel. They've studied it through and through. I said, there are no more studies need to be made. Then he gave me the second line, the children. And I said, wait a minute. I said, have you been to Colorado? No. I said, well, maybe you should go out to Colorado. I said, if you're purchasing marijuana in Colorado, I said, you not only have to show your ID once, you have to show it twice. You show it just to get into the waiting room, and then you show it to make your purchase. So I said, if any children are getting marijuana, it's because adults are providing it for them the same as they do booze. Identical. I said, so if you're going to come say the children on that, well, then why don't you say the children on alcohol? Exactly. The point is, children are not to use alcohol or marijuana. It's an adult subject, an adult usage. And we as a society need to keep it at that level. And if we do, there won't be any major problems.
There's one major difference between the two, though. It's because one's medicine and one is not. So I think it should be treated better than booze, honestly.
Well, and that's true, although some may argue booze is medicine, too. I don't know if that legally would fit under it, but I know there's a lot of guys with stuff happens. Give me a drink. I won't feel it as bad. I don't know. No, but you're absolutely correct. In fact, I'll tell you this. Little story. Tommy Chong's a friend of mine.
You should bring him on.
You know, everybody thinks Tommy is Tommy Chong they see in the movies. Well, he's not. He's a very intelligent man and he knows a lot about cannabis. And I remember Tommy telling me they're making a big mistake dividing it between, quote, recreational and medical. Tommy goes, the entire plant's medical. He said those that smoke it for the euphoric feeling are doing it for their mental health, like post-traumatic stress, things of that nature, or frankly, just to relax. You know, this life is tough enough. And if it makes you feel good when you get home at night, people have a glass of wine, people do. What's wrong with getting home at night, relaxing, sitting down in front of your TV and smoking a joint?
Absolutely
nothing. Absolutely nothing wrong with that for an adult. And that's all we're asking for. Treat us the same as alcohol, not differently. Why do they insist on hiding us? I go around the country, and where do you see marijuana? Oh, it's all within the topless dancing and the stripper bars and all that. They hide it down in the gut parts of the cities and all that. What for? There's a spot in White Bear right now, right at the corner of Highway 61 and 96, where they come together. It's been a oil-changing place. I've watched in the last 5 years 5 different businesses go in there and fail. And I turn to my wife and I go, if a pot store went right in there, it would achieve huge success, but I bet they won't let it because it's too high profile at 2 main intersections. Oh, we can't have people actually think people use marijuana. We got to hide it. And that's what we've got to overcome now, in my opinion.
Definitely, we have that county to county. Each county has their different, even city by citywide. They can hide behind this zoning thing. We want it 1,000 feet from a school or 10,000 feet from a church. They get to decide due to the bill. But
And what would church have to do with it? Ain't there supposed? Excuse me. Last time I checked, there's supposed to be a separation of church and state.
Amen.
That's why I took offense the other day. I saw a Florida license plate that had at the bottom of it, "In God We Trust." Really? What if you're an atheist from Florida? And isn't there supposed to be that separation? Why is government endorsing God? Government has no business to do that. No. None whatsoever. Separation, church and state. Simple.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the background of like why you became so interested in cannabis as governor? I think that's a powerful story.
Because I've used it my whole life. I openly will admit now, I took my first hit of marijuana. I was a senior in high school. My buddy's parents had gone to southern Minnesota, so they left the house. To us, that's trouble. If you're from South Minneapolis and and the other reason was it was springtime. I was done with football. I was done with swimming. I'm waiting to graduate, and we're at this party, and my friend's older brother was at the University of Minnesota at that time, and this is 1969. So let's remember, Minnesota's about 2 years behind 1967 California and Monterey. So all the stuff from 67 is now just arriving in Minnesota in 69. And so he had a joint that day or that night, and we're all sitting there, four of my buddies and the older brother, and I thought, why not? I'm graduating from high school. I'm done being an athlete. What the hell? I took my first hit of marijuana, and I'll be honest, we had been drinking since junior high. Anybody that tells you different, baloney. You know what we used to do? Tell you a good story. We lived right by the river off of 32nd Street and Lake Street, and there was a big sandbar down there. We, as young junior high kids, would go down there every Saturday and Sunday morning because the old kids would have drinking parties down there at night, and some of the booze would get lost, and we'd find it. And we had a cave down there where we accumulated it. And we started putting all these different brands of beer. I mean, we had it covered. And then we waited for one Saturday, told our parents we're going fishing. And we went down to the river and did one of those rare occasions. We got drunk and sober in the same afternoon and went home. You remember those old days, getting drunk and sober in the same day. We were drinkers. Let's face it, back then, you had big brothers, the college guy, everybody'd get their booze, and, a lot more went on than what society realized with the drinking. Well, getting back on target here, I took my first hit of marijuana, and I remember I turned to everyone in the room, and I looked at them all, and I said, the hell with drinking. I said, this is way better. Why? It was instant. I took that first hit. Whoa. Exhaled, and about 10 seconds later, I started feeling wonderful. And that was the only way to describe it. And I thought, the hell with drinking. This is way better. Number one, you don't get sick. Number two, you don't get a hangover. The list goes on and on. So getting back to my story, of course, I went in the Navy then, and I didn't smoke much pot in the Navy, but you got it. I did 17 months in Southeast Asia, and so it was pretty hard to avoid it over there on occasion. And the good thing about the military back in the early 70s, they didn't drug test for marijuana.
Does anybody know when that started?
I never was subjected, because it's an awful test, because you'll test positive, a week later, right, Doc?
Yep,
Because
even up to a month.
Yeah, and you're not affected by it anymore. That's why it's a phony test.
Right.
If they're going to test, they need something that would test it immediately.
Exactly.
Not something that where it sits in your fat cells and you test positive 3 weeks later. Well, you're hardly high 3 weeks later, you know. And so I didn't do much, but where I did do it was wrestling.
Okay.
Why? Because I can tell you, there was a time in my wrestling career, I wrestled 63 consecutive days in a row.
Oh, just for recovery then.
Yeah, anti-inflammation.
63 days in a row. Well, here was what I'd do. I'd wrestle. Generally, you're spending the night in a hotel. I'd go to the hotel. I'd smoke a joint. I'd order room service, which it always makes it better. Makes hotel food better, even though it may be good to begin with, but this made sure it was good. And then what it did, when it would start wearing down, I would get a full night's sleep. Yeah. And so I could wake up the next day, go to the airport, fly to the next city, go to the gym, work out, and repeat the whole thing over again. So I will unequivocally tell you that I used marijuana a great deal when I wrestled, and I had to hide it. I mean, if I got busted with it, I'd go, you know, and I went through airports and all that stuff, and this and that. But you know what the great thing about marijuana was?
It's everywhere.
And users can tell other users.
Oh,
From
yeah.
a mile away.
And
Yep.
users
The nose.
help out other people. I did, one time I was doing a press junket out in New York for something. And I had a friend I had met back here, or no, I had met him in Colorado because he used to go to Colorado to get it. And he lived in New York. And he walked up to me at the press junket when no one was watching, and he slipped 2 joints in my hand. And he said, "Here, I know you're flying around. I thought you might need these for tonight."
What a great gift.
But I mean, here, yeah. And I thought, thank you, and because, there's nothing better than after a long day's work, to kick back.
Is that still your preferred way of consumption? Is a nice joint?
Yeah, I think so, because I've tried edibles, and here's my problem with edibles. I tend to wake up in the middle of the night with some nightmares
Oh no!
from them.
So that's time to stop. Don't do that.
I get these dreams in the middle of the night, and I generally end up in a fight, and I'm swinging and fighting because my poor wife wakes up in terror because she thinks that one of the punches may come her way, and I have to explain, honey. And, some of it may be post-traumatic stress from my military and all that, because it brings back. So that's what, I guess with edibles, I'd have to say, I'd have to eat them right away in the morning. And hopefully, I'll ask you, Doc, how long before they clear your system to where you won't get nightmare?
I would probably say, yeah. I think if you strategize taking them in the morning, most of the effects should be worn off by the time you go to sleep.
Yeah, but see, my problem was I'm eating them about 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And
So
then I'm going to bed, and that's why I've backed off on edibles a little bit. I've tried vaping, and I've heard pros and cons. I've heard it's worse for you because of the oils they put in it. And then I've heard, is that true?
yeah, if they are cut with vitamin E acetate was a big problem for a second, and oftentimes they are
Doc,
cut with
let's ask
vegetable
you,
growth
what do
stream.
we need to make vaping safe? There's a question I'll
There we
fire
go.
at you.
I would just say a pure quality concentrate. So like live resin is probably a pretty safe bet. The problem in our industry is that
So you need to ask for live resin.
live resin is
Because I've
usually a
gotten
safe
that in
way.
Colorado before.
Yeah.
I'll go in and specifically.
But the problem that I've had is I've been to Vegas, and you'll ask for a live resin cart. You're paying $100 for this cart, and it's just a distillate cart with added terpenes or flavoring, and they're just calling it live resin. So it's not like where you're like, what is that, Chardonnay or Champagne, where it's supposed to be from Champagne. So there's no like legal ramifications. So people in our industry will just call things that they actually
They
aren't.
mislabel them.
Mislabel them. But usually, if you can find a quality brand, live resin is probably the best quality source for a cart because it's water extracted and.
Let me ask this question, Doc, which would be one that which way is the healthiest? Eating?
I'd assume eating it, yeah, because then you're not because like any way you're consuming combusted things in your lungs is unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So eating edibles would probably be the safest.
The safest way. Yeah.
There's tinctures
Let
also.
me ask this: how would you all rate between vaping and regular smoking of it? Which one's worse?
It depends, I guess, if you're smoking a blunt, which also then has nicotine and tobacco. That's probably the worst. And then
I don't ever
if
would
you're-
do that. I don't want nothing to do with nicotine and nothing to do with tobacco.
Yep. But I'd say probably like a very quality vape pen is probably the safest, where you're not pulling in other oils into your lungs, and a cart that doesn't have heavy metals, because that's also a big problem in the cart industry. Is sometimes they'll vaporize off these heavy metals. So I don't. It's not a very clear answer.
Or a good
I think,
hash.
What about doing dabs in a very clean rate?
Yeah, dabs, I'd say
Yeah.
dabs doing hash, smoking hash. would
Smoking
be
hash is pretty safe.
pretty safe.
Really?
It's your purest form. So you're going water, heat, and then you have your product. So
Really?
you're not using chemicals. You're not.
You know what? And let me ask this: does it deteriorate in time?
Does what deteriorate in time?
Marijuana.
Oh, the potency?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Really? Because I've got stuff that I got from my buddy that did it in Colorado, and I've tried it now, and it still works.
It'll definitely still work. It's just probably losing.
And this stuff's 8 years old.
Yeah, it probably loses about 10% potency per
What's
year.
his number?
Well, unfortunately, he's passed.
Oh.
He was kind of an outdoorsman, and he got in an accident on the Colorado River.
Oh, no.
And it took his life. But no, I met him in Mexico, and he lived in Colorado. So whenever I'd come home, I'd go by his place in Mexico, and he'd load me up for the rest of the trip home.
Nice.
And because Colorado at the time was the only place that was legal, and all that, and so he did give me, and I have some hash. He gave me a whole big block of it,
Oh,
and it's been sitting sealed for 6-7 years now.
Well, the concentrate, I was thinking more of flour, but
Yeah, so
concentrate
concentrate-
does stay stabler longer.
yep.
Yeah,
Really? So the hash should be good.
that should be good. Still.
Really?
Well, you said it was good.
I haven't tried it.
Oh, I thought you.
Oh,
I
no,
thought that's what
it's
you're
still
saying.
wrapped up and sitting in a block.
He was talking about his other products.
Yeah, I'm talking about the flour.
Okay.
You know, because I got a bag of flour still from him that was all hermetically sealed. You know, no air can get into it, and it's still inside that. That should still be pretty potent then.
Yeah, it should, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, I think even though with the health, I guess, consequences of smoking, I still like a good joint. I feel
I
like
do too.
I feel like that's my favorite way. It's the most flavorful. It feels more full. Sometimes dabs to me can just be too strong.
It
Like
brings you back to your roots.
Yeah.
Unlike when you
It
first
brings you
smoked.
back to your roots.
Yeah.
Back when you're out trying to score papers,
Yep.
because half the places won't sell them.
Yeah, I remember going into the head shop and you'd have to say, I need this this water tobacco pipe.
Yep. And if you called it a bong, they'd ask you to leave.
Yeah,
Yep.
you get kicked out for calling
I'm
it a bong.
smoking Bull Durham. Comes in a can. But anyway, that my foray was I always used it as a wrestler. It took away pain, gave me a good appetite, let me sleep at night, and I'll tell you this, it sure was a lot safer than opiates.
Yes.
And
Less
I would
addictive.
rather see people on marijuana any day for pain or anything like that. And like with the soldiers coming home. Gosh, put them on marijuana rather than opiates. Opiates is a sure trip to death.
It is.
I always tell people, you know, if you smoke marijuana and you die from it, take heart. You're going into the history books. You're going to be the first person.
Remembered forever.
Yeah, that if they can attribute that you died specifically from marijuana. Now, here's a question I got that's filtered up through the local paper, and I even got a letter from a guy on it. What is this marijuana psychosis they've made up now. That somehow marijuana creates a psychosis and there's young children dying from it. Like I said, those kids had more problems than marijuana. If they're committing suicide and things like that, it ain't marijuana making them do it. I said they have more problems than that. I said maybe they're using marijuana as the scapegoat and saying, oh, yeah, we'll blame it on marijuana. But I've had 2 or 3, and I've gotten letters from their parents, and they call it psychosis or something. It's a new one to me, Doc. I never heard of that one.
I think it's largely untreated mental illness, and then the marijuana gets to be this scapegoat because I think I don't know. I think even still today, I think talking about mental health is hard. I think that there aren't often great tools for people to talk about mental health, and it's easier to blame something else than just to blame like upbringing and parenting and untreated illness.
Well, and it's an easy way out. Blame the pot.
Yeah, lack of accountability.
Yeah, blame the marijuana. Well, this would have never happened if he wouldn't have started smoking pot.
Yeah, just enhancing the stigma.
Yeah, because I like I said, I've never had an urge to kill myself or anything of that nature smoking pot. You know.
No, if not, the urge goes away.
The only murderous
By the
intent.
way, guess what I got? Guess what I did July the 28th of 1970.
What'd you do?
Now, why would I remember that?
Probably smoking some weed at a Hendrix show, maybe.
Yes, you got it. That was the night I saw Jimi Hendrix in San Diego. It was his third to last concert. He went from there up to Seattle. He did his hometown. Then he flew across the pond and did the Isle of Wight. And then a couple weeks later, unfortunately, Jimmy was gone. And we lost the greatest guitar player that has ever strummed a guitar. Remember a great quote, somebody went up to Eric Clapton. And they said, Eric, what does it feel like to be the greatest guitar player in the world? And Eric looked at the guy and says, I don't know, ask Jimi Hendrix.
I thought that was Prince. Am I wrong? Was that Prince? I thought Eric Clapton was giving that nod to Prince.
Well, because Prince was alive.
Prince now. Okay.
The greatest guitar player is Jimi Hendrix. Watch Prince. You know, Purple Haze ain't far from Purple Rain.
Yeah,
Just think of that.
there's nothing new under the sun.
No, I would tell you Prince definitely was influenced by Jimi
definitely.
Hendrix.
Oh, definitely.
Not the other way around.
Oh, no, he's not old enough.
Yeah. So, no. Prince, there's a lot. I saw Hendrix and I've seen Prince. And there's a lot of Hendrix. There's enough Hendrix and Prince that you know that, and I'm sure if you were able to ask Prince today, he would tell you, oh, yeah, Jimi Hendrix was definitely an influence upon me.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I get angry with about Prince? All this national media always says he's from North Minneapolis. No, he ain't.
Nope.
He went to Bryant Junior High in South Minneapolis. I know because I used to swim in that pool in South Minneapolis. And Prince went to Bryant Junior High. And I get angry over it because there's a natural rivalry between South Minneapolis and North Minneapolis. And they always give North Minneapolis the credit for being Prince. Yeah, well, he did all his music up north and the guys he worked with, but Prince was born and raised in South Minneapolis.
You got it.
I have to verify that for me? Gary Hines, head of the Sounds of Blackness. Because Gary and I always gripe about it. I go, Gary, I heard again on TV they're talking about Prince from North Minneapolis. When are we going to set him straight on that? He's from South Minneapolis.
Right. Yeah, right where
Did you ever get a chance to see Prince perform live?
I don't think so. I don't know if I ever did. He didn't perform at my inauguration because Prince is a control freak, and he wanted to take control of the whole thing, and we said, sorry, Prince, that ain't going to happen. So we got Johnny Lang instead. And by the way, you know who called me for that and apologized because they couldn't make it? Personally called me.
Bob Dylan?
No. They personally called me because they said they were pre-booked. They couldn't get out of it. Otherwise, they would have been there. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry from Aerosmith.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to do my inauguration here.
That
And
would
they
have been so
couldn't-
awesome.
They couldn't, so, well, we had a great one, though. We had Johnny Lang. We had Dave Perner from Soul Asylum. We had one of my favorites, the late, great Warren Zevon. You know, I sang a duet with him that night.
What is your favorite music or album to smoke cannabis to?
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you, I don't think I could sit and say I have a favorite, because I'm pretty versatile. Dark Side of the Moon would be hard to pass up.
Very hard.
Very hard to pass up. I would definitely tell you high on the list is one that generally they're not known for, but Led Zeppelin 1, the first Led Zeppelin, which is before Whole Lotta Love, the one with Dazed and Confused and all of those songs on it. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Oh boy, you smoke a joint during that, and when it's over with, you're melted. No, so I would say probably if I had to make a pick, I'd tell you Led Zeppelin.
Right.
I would tell you Led Zeppelin, anything Zepp did, because I was a huge Led Zeppelin. Saw them in 72 and 75. The originals of Led Zeppelin, when Bonham was still alive. They were great too. They would come out at 8 o'clock, no warm-up band, never had a warm-up band, Led Zeppelin. They would play for 3 hours and 15 minutes till 11:15, and the only break they took was when the drummer, Johnny Bonham, would go into the drum solo on, what's the famous song? Moby Dick.
Moby Dick.
That's it, Moby Dick. Bonham would go into Moby Dick and play the 10, 12-minute drum solo of Moby Dick. And then the band would come back out, probably finish Moby Dick off, do one more song, leave, and then come back for the encore.
So, as a former governor, what are your thoughts? I think Minnesota's got a unique thing in that the municipalities can have and run their own dispensaries. What are your thoughts on that? There's about 13
truthfully,
cities.
Doc, I've never thought about it, whether it's good or bad. You kind of pose the question to me now. I kind of don't like it because I think that it should be universal, covering the whole state, because otherwise you're going to get into this local community stuff where, because the locals don't happen to like it, they can then cause trouble for it, where if it's done statewide and it's been okayed at the state level, then that takes the municipalities out of the picture. So I would tell you my gut feeling right now, without doing any research, would be I'd prefer it left at the state level and do not let the municipalities micromanage.
Yeah, because that seems
Do
to
not
be
let them.
some of the smaller city, Anoka, Elk River. They're kind of getting into this municipality thing.
Yeah.
And we have a good friend. I just ran into her this past week. Crowley. What's her first name again?
Jamie.
Jamie, yeah. Jamie and her husband owned a small shop in Anoka, and they kind of got pushed out because they got zoned out through the city, so they were too close to other things, and then the city said, we're going to do a municipality, and now their business is...
Now here's my answer, Ben. Do they do the same thing to the liquor stores?
So some cities are municipally run. Richfield, Lindstrom.
But they don't get zoned out.
But they don't get zoned out.
Exactly. That's the part I'm getting to.
Yep.
Do they zone out liquor stores? Because it goes back to my bitch again.
Right.
Treat us the same as alcohol.
Yep.
So if you don't have zoning for alcohol and you can put a liquor store in a shopping mall, well, then you should be able to put a cannabis store in that same damn shopping mall. Without, or let the liquor store sell it too.
Well, even Mountain Dew can have their brand, and then they can have their alcohol brand too.
Exactly.
Well. Same with lemonades out there being the ones we grew up on, but now they're in the liquor stores.
Yeah.
And I grew up on some of these brands as a child. I know the label by,
Again, to me, it comes back to equal fairness under the law.
Yeah.
Treat us the same as you treat alcohol. And we won't gripe, because then we'll have a great lobbying force, alcohol. If they put us under the same rules, we'll let them spend all the money to lobby. Anyway, getting back, so that was through wrestling. Now, I will tell you this. My 4 years as governor, I did not use marijuana at all because I was under such scrutiny. And but I guess today I can tell a story that I haven't talked to him to ask him if it was done on purpose or if it was done by him being a airhead. And I'll tell you this, he's a friend. He came to visit me because I was still coaching football, and he actually ran sprints with my football team because I was a conditioning coach, and the football team loved it. Woody Harrelson.
Oh
I love that guy.
From Cheers. Well, Woody ran with my team, and my players say, do you believe it? We're running sprints with Woody Harrelson. You know, Woody took his shoes off and ran barefoot. You know, but here's the end of the story. He's riding around with me in my governor's vehicle. After he leaves, I get in the governor's vehicle. I happen to check the thing behind the seat. There's a full bag of pot in there.
Right on.
Oh, my God. I'm sitting there going, what did you do? And to this day, I haven't spoke to Woody. I want to ask him, was that left by mistake, or did you leave that there feeling, well, he can't get any, I'll leave him some so he can sneak it? You know, I don't know. But that's a true story. Woody left a bag of pot in my official governor's vehicle. Thank God the 2 state troopers didn't go through the truck. You know? This is the first time I've ever made that public.
Oh, wow.
This is the first time I've ever told that public.
Well, thanks for sharing.
And so I guess I should categorize it. I can't explicitly say Woody did it.
Allegedly.
I didn't see him.
Allegedly.
I don't know, but somehow I found a bag of pot in the seat thing in my Navigator. You know, I don't know. I went, and all of a sudden, I don't know if Woody forgot it there, you know, and it was his. I don't know, because I haven't talked to him since. But someday I'm going to run into him again, and I'm going to pin him down on that. Woody, that pot somehow. He'll probably say, I don't know a thing about it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your wife's, Terry's, use of cannabis for seizures?
Well, that's a great story, Doc, in the fact that it happened about, I guess it would be 10 to 12 years ago. We kept it very quiet because it's a personal thing and it's your health, and the public didn't need to know. But I've talked it out with her, and in light of the whole situation, she's given me permission to go ahead and speak openly about it. She all of a sudden started seizing and having seizures 2 to 3 times a week. And they were the debilitating ones, where I'm down on the floor with her, holding her head, making sure she's not swallowing her tongue, making sure she's breathing, and in fear for my life and hers, both. That's how bad they were. Now, what's the natural thing you do? Go to the doctor, right?
Right.
That's what we did. We went to the doctor. Doctor puts her on a seizure medicine from pharma. Doesn't do nothing. Seizures continue. Second seizure medicine. Doesn't do nothing. Seizures continue. Third, same thing. Fourth, same thing. Here's the bad part. Some of them had horrible side effects. She started losing her hair, falling out from this medicine. My friends I told you about in Colorado, in desperation, Colorado had legalized. They were the only state. I drove her to Colorado because I had read about these children who were getting tremendous results stopping seizures with the use of cannabis. I drove her to Colorado to our friends. Now, I'll admit, our friends went in and illegally bought it for us because at the time, you had to be a Colorado resident. You could not be from another state.
Right.
they went in and purchased for her the drops under the tongue.
Tinctures.
In fact, she seized in the motel the night before we got there, because it was a 2-day trip for us to Denver, or to south of Denver. And she seized in the motel the night before. We got there. They went in and got the drops under the tongue. She took 3 drops under the tongue. And from that point on, they got us enough. We got home. We had some. They started illegally sending it to me because you couldn't get it here. So I'm breaking the law. I didn't give a damn. This was a choice, the law or my wife. Well, I got news for you. I'm going to pick my wife. You're hearing a governor say that. I'm going to pick my wife over the law. So we're breaking the law. We're getting it illegally sent to us. But amazingly, my wife has not had a seizure since. Not one. And cannabis totally took it away, and I assume it controls it today because she takes the drops morning and night. And she takes the stuff that don't even get you high.
So she's taking mainly a CBD tincture.
Yeah. Yeah, she's taking the stuff. You could drink her stuff. You ain't going to get high from it. I look at her and go, why don't you get the stuff that it's more fun? Yeah. But anyway, she's not into that though now. But she keeps it on hand. Now, what happened with my wife then? I'm getting this sent to me from Colorado. Finally, it becomes legal in Minnesota. So she goes down and qualified immediately. Now I can get it here. I don't have to go to Colorado. But guess what? $600 a month.
What?
Initially.
Oh my gosh.
$600. I'm paying $600. Now, here's another good one for you. My health insurance. Oh, they happily paid for these 4 pharma drugs
That don't work.
did nothing and don't work. But now when I get a cannabis bill, they won't pay for it. Oh, no, we're not paying for marijuana. We're not paying for what works. You know, we're not going to pay for that. So I'm paying $600 a month. It was at that point in time I looked at my wife. I said, honey, I think we should move to Colorado. I said, because I'll have a better time of getting what I want out there. And I said, and we can get what you want for $30 a month. You know, that I said $600 a month, that's damn near a mortgage. Mm-hmm. You know, let's move to Colorado. Imagine if the governor of Minnesota moved to Colorado because his wife needed, and he couldn't get it here. Well, then what happened? We expanded. It dropped to $300 a month, which is still outrageous. Now I can happily say I'm recouping it somewhat because now that I have Ventura Farms, she gets it free.
Awesome.
And so all of this payment, I had to fork it out. And again, health insurance won't pay for what works. Why not? Why not?
Because it takes you out of the circle.
But like I said, cannabis took away the seizures that the First Lady had and gave us our life back. So that was my undying loyalty to cannabis. When cannabis keeps your wife of 50 years with you, then it's got a place. It's going to always have a place in my home. And I ain't going to run from it. I ain't going to hide from it. I'm going to let people know that this plant is a medical plant and then I got on the BAM. I don't want any family in Minnesota to go through what we went through. They maybe don't have the wherewithal to be able to go to Colorado and get it. I wanted it, that's when I got on the real bandwagon. I wanted it legalized in Minnesota so that no family in Minnesota has to go through what Terry and I went through with her seizures. I want it readily available. Anyone can get it who needs it. End of story. And today she's still seizure-free.
That's great. What were like the pressures at the time? You were bringing up, you're trying to fight this fight that hadn't been started yet in Minnesota. Like, what were the political pressures at the time as you were bringing this to the people?
Well, I don't think that, for me, it wasn't bad because I was pretty outrageous to begin with and got elected. I remember during the campaign when I came out and said, why don't we legalize prostitution? Oh my God, my people came up and said, you just blew the whole election. You know, because, outrage, Jesse Ventura says legalize prostitution was the headlines, right? I'll never forget, Dean Barkley. We're all in a room like this, and Dean walks in, and he's got his cigar. Dean plops down in the chair, looks at everybody in the room, and says, well, he says, how do we take this lemon and turn it into lemonade? He says, I think I figured it out. And we all said, what? Because they all told me I was finished. You're done. Your candidacy's over. Because you said that. Dean goes, He said, here's what we go out to the press with. You're the only candidate that will bring up real problems in the world and is not afraid to say them. We did that, and it didn't harm me a bit. Because I still say, why is prostitution illegal? The only thing that makes it illegal, the government's not getting their cut. Yep. They're not taxing it. If you legalized it, they could tax it. Then someone could say, I'm a prostitute. Because the sex acts aren't illegal. You're not going to go to jail for anything you do sexually. So the only thing illegal is the exchange of money. Which is what? The government's not the pimp. The government needs to be the pimp. Get a cut of the action, and then they'll be happy. But I mean, that's how I looked at it. I thought it's not, they call it the oldest profession on the planet. It's not going away. So why not deal with it? And that's what I meant about let's take a new look at our laws. Why do you go to jail for being a prostitute?
Just make it safe.
From who?
Make it safe for them by legalizing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you legalize it, prostitutes could get a union then.
There's a structure then, yeah.
And then they could have health care and go get checked. And they could, it wouldn't be an under the table horrible thing it is today. It'd be above board. I mean, Amsterdam's got it legal over there. And, they had pot legal. I remember when I used to go over there, boy, did they have good stuff too.
Oh, I love Amsterdam. There. Yeah, they do.
I
and
remember
the cafes.
When I traveled to Europe, I'd make sure I went through Amsterdam because they call them coffee houses over there.
What is the culture of that? Like, I've not made it to Amsterdam yet. What's it like being in the coffee shop?
Well, they keep it all in the red light district.
Okay.
So if you're offended with that type of behavior, don't go there.
Stay out of it.
It's clearly marked. Yep. When you start, you're entering the red light district. That's what
in many
call
languages.
And I see nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't Minneapolis open a red light district? You put all your strip clubs there. You can put your cannabis there. You can put your everything, all the things people have fun at. You could put it down in one area. And the red light district is so dangerous in Amsterdam. They have walking tours for the tourists. Where they go, they have someone who leads the tour, and they walk them through the red light district, and everybody looks at the prostitutes and looks at the cannabis stores and looks at all the other illegal stuff that goes on. And most of the people at the walking tours are all senior citizens. So it's kind of humorous. When, at that time I was a lot younger, because now I'd be one of them, the senior citizens. But yeah, they're all walking tours from senior citizens going through the red light district and in fact, even on the airplanes, they would tell you about it. The flight attendants, they'd say, now in Amsterdam, of course, there's the red light district, and they knew all about it. And don't go down there if you're offended. And that's an adult way to handle things. If you have people offended, then create a district to where it'll all be there. And those that wish to partake can. But again, I sit here today and say the only thing illegal about prostitution is that the government's not getting their cut. because the government wants to be a pimp.
They do with the cannabis.
Yeah.
They just jack their taxes up 50%.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, so always remember this: you can win over government by how much money you give them in taxes. You know, they're all honorable people until it comes time for taxes. Then they become very dishonorable.
It's the corporate world.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not governor today. Would I be in trouble? Can you imagine me doing this interview
Oh, it
if
would
I
be
was
so
if I
fun.
was still the seated governor?
Oh, it would be fun. I think we need that. I think we need something, a little
like
stir up in
Well,
politics here.
It's too lobby focused now.
All of it's that way. It's all about, you know, that was the great thing when, hey, do you know what I did when I got over there? First day in the office, I told my host, gathered my staff together. I said, okay, here's the first rule. Tell the lobbyists they got a 4-year vacation. Because I said I didn't meet with them before I ran. They didn't do anything to elect me, and I'm not going to meet with them now. And I spent my entire time, all 4 years, I never once met with a lobbyist.
Good.
You think they didn't want me gone? Because that's a whole cottage industry.
Yep.
That's a whole huge industry that got put on hold when I was in there. You know, because I never met with a lobbyist. I said, I have my beliefs. What are they going to tell me? You know, they ain't going to help me with nothing.
So what's new outside of the cannabis world? What have you been up to lately?
Well, right now I'm in the middle of remodeling my outside of my house with construction, redoing the all outside. And for me, what am I doing lately? Well, I can tell you hell has frozen over.
It's Rose now?
Hell has frozen over. I'm back in the WWE.
What?
Nice.
wow.
Awesome.
You didn't know that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm back in the WWE. Hell is frozen over. I give full credit to my son. The stories like this. I took them to court a number of years ago over videotape royalties and all of that, and I beat them. So I would get checks every quarter from my lawsuit. Well, those checks are now down to about $2.50. Not because they're not paying on the lawsuit, they are, but because everything that was in the lawsuit isn't made anymore. Where do you get a videotape today?
The thrift store.
Anybody here got any idea?
Grandma's house.
Anybody pump up an
eBay,
answer?
eBay.
Where would you get? See, they're not in the market anymore. So therefore, my lawsuit was worthless. So at the time, my son had a bit of a relationship with somebody at the WWE, and they came out with their legends, the old guys, and they're marketing them all. And old guys are now making money that we should have made before. But we're getting it now. Better late than never, I guess. You could look at it that way. So my son set it up, approached the WWE. How would you like to get Jesse back as a legend?
Nice.
They jumped at it big time. We worked it out. We negotiated royalty fees, blah, 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 blah. Actually, we just took what the court gave me and applied it to them so they can continue to pay me and all the new stuff. Same thing the court gave me. And they were good with that. I was good with that. And so we started doing that. And then lo and behold, when I was back as a legend, which I never thought would happen, Triple H, who runs the wrestling end of it now, they got Ultimate Fighting and WWE. Dana White does the Ultimate Fighting. Triple H runs the WWE with a bean counter. There's another guy, the Money Man. And Triple H apparently was on a plane, and they had just re-signed to do Saturday night's main event again. What we did back in the 80s when we went on NBC. That was the breakthrough of pro wrestling. Because when we got on Saturday night's main event, this is back when there wasn't all the stations. We're on NBC on Saturday night, wrestling. That was just, we didn't think it could get any bigger than that. We're mainstream now. NBC, I remember we all gathered in a room in a hotel because it was pre-taped. And we're all going, holy crap, this is NBC. We're on NBC. Well, it blossomed from there, NBC and all that. Saturday night's main event. And to show you how big it was back in the 80s, we used to rotate every 3 weeks with Saturday Night Live. Well, Saturday Night Live brought in Madonna, guest host, and this was when she was red hot in the 80s. She was the biggest female star in the world. Madonna's guest hosting Saturday Night Live. We came on a week later before WrestleMania 3 and blew her numbers out of the water. Do you know what we did for a share? We did a 34 share. That means 30 over one out of every 3 televisions in America was watching wrestling. 1 out of 3.
I was one of them.
Yeah,
Well, you know, that blew. So Saturday Night Live was huge. Now, getting back, Triple H, they had just signed me back, and they were going to do this Saturday Night Live because they've had a lot of people want throwback. They want to see the old days. So that's what this is going to be. Not that fancy runway they got now. They're going to come out through the crowd. We're coming out like the old days.
Yes.
And Triple's on the plane, and he turned to the guy, and he goes, oh, my God. He said, do you think Jesse would come back and do it? Could we bring him back? He was originally, it was him and Vince. Saturday night's main event. So they approached my son and I. They made I'll tell the story because it's funny. They made an initial offer. And my son's pretty savvy now because he was Sean Penn's assistant for 4 years. So he's well aware of that, of the entertainment world. And so he gets this offer from Triple H and the WWE. He waited 3 minutes. And he calls Triple back and said, Triple, he said, I can't even take this to my dad. And Triple goes, really? Why not? And my son goes, because that's the same money he was getting back in 1985. It's now 2024. Triple apologized. I'm so sorry. Well, they lowballed me, but so they said, we'll come back again. So they came back with another offer. They more than tripled it. So we declined it until we got him to bump it one more. And then when we got him to bump it one more, we were all happy. And so I signed on back with them. And they brought me back. I'll never forget. It was last year. Back to the same building, Nassau Coliseum, where we did the very first one.
Wow.
And we went back into that same building again, and I got brought out to the fans, and I did everything I could to make them boo me. They cheered and cheered and cheered. I even looked at them all and said to them, what do you think? I like you people now? I tried everything. They were having none of it. They were just so glad to see me back doing Saturday night's main event. And emails came in and said, why aren't they getting this guy for every pay-per-view? Which they haven't yet. And I'm glad they don't. I'm working enough. But the best one, there's a blogger out there that's pretty powerful in wrestling. He wrote a blog that was the best thing that ever could have been said. He wrote in it, and he wrote, who would have ever thought a 73-year-old man could come back and steal the show?
That has to make your heart warm.
Oh, when he wrote that, a 73-year-old man could come back and steal the show that night. Regardless of who was wrestling, when Jesse walked out, it stole the show. And so I did. They initially wanted me to do a whole day's publicity. I said, I'll do it, but you got to guarantee me all 4 shows then.
Yeah, buddy.
I said, if I'm going out there, I ain't doing it for just one. And they said, hey, no problem. You want to do all? You can do all 4. So we assume we're back in December, and I'll be back doing them. They haven't told me otherwise.
Awesome.
So I look forward to that. It's been exciting. And I'll tell you this, what that was like. And I'll forever, and I'll say this to the WWE, I'll forever now be in their debt a little bit, because they gave me an opportunity that first night to go back and relive my youth.
Wow.
Because when I walked out there in Nassau, it was like time had stood still. It was 40 years ago. This is the peak. This is wrestling again. And they gave me, and the roar of the crowd, and just the way the crowd, I mean, I couldn't make them hate me. 2 weeks later, they booed Hogan off the stage. That's how I know we're in an upside-down world. I'm getting cheered, and Hogan got booed off the stage. You know, but they gave me that opportunity for one night to totally relive my youth. And that's something money can't buy.
Okay.
I can tell you that. That's a feeling that I got that night that money could not buy.
So yeah, so Jesse, tell us a little bit about what new products are going to be on the market for Jesse
I think
Ventura
you
Farms.
should do that, not me.
I'll handle it.
I'm not the seed guy. You are.
Yep.
No, I defer. I am no expert on marijuana. I never claimed to be. I defer to him. And he and my son, or Ventura Farms, we've come together, and we're going to be producing some, I hope, very high potency marijuana seeds. Am I correct there?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Take it away, Doc.
So one of my companies, Empire Genetics, has been working. We've been working for almost a year now with Jesse Ventura Farms to bring some new cultivars to the market. We've been using some marker-assisted selection, and we found some good lines, 3 feminized lines and 3 regular lines that we're going to release hopefully next month to the new dispensaries and the hemp stores. And so I'm really excited to release some Jesse Ventura Farm seeds for Minnesota.
Will this be high potency?
Extremely high potency. Yep.
I'm waiting for that. I'm sitting here enjoying what we have, and it's all wonderful. But, I'll tell you the final thing. I say this every time I walk into Colorado. When I walk back to get service, I look at all the people there, and I say, okay. I tell them, I saw Jimi Hendrix back in 1970. I said, I'm a product of the 60s. I said, you have nothing in this store that can make me crawl. I said, that's your challenge. I said, I want you to pick out whatever you think can make me crawl out the door. Because what's that old song? It's hard to leave when you can't find the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've got one of those for the people out there.
Okay.
We'll have them crawling.
No, I'm looking forward to one of them where I can lock myself in the house, not have to go anywhere, and not have to find the door.
So be on the lookout for Jesse Ventura Farm seeds. They'll be in retailers near you in about a month.
And people will buy these seeds and grow their own.
They'll buy them and grow their own. Yep.
And will the growing process be easy?
Yep. So we've got some traits for
because Doc, you always hear about, well, you've got to keep them separate. You can't let them cross-pollinate and all this stuff. Like I remember one time when I lived on West River Road, I used to take my pot seeds and throw them out behind the garage by the river. Holy crap, by the end of the summer, they were 15 feet tall.
Yep.
But what were they? They were all hemp because they did the cross-pollination. I didn't do nothing. So how do you prevent that if you buy the seeds?
So all of the seeds will be high THC, or I guess high potency THC varieties. So we've done very selective breeding to make sure that they have both the potency traits as well as the THC traits. We've got some vigor traits that we incorporated in these lines, so they'll be easier for folks to grow at home. And we've got some post-harvest handling traits that we've been selecting for. So they should be easy to trim and easy to make hash out of, and they should get
One good story I can finish with. I live in White Bear Lake now, and we get the local paper, and in the local paper it'll have the police reports for all the locals, and I live in Delwood. So, and I noticed a week ago, Delwood was listed to where the county sheriff had been called for whatever. You all are going to love this. There was a group of, I guess, construction workers or remodeling workers or some type of workers. They peered into the neighbor's house and they saw marijuana plants growing. And it was in there. They called the police. I guess they're going to be good citizens and report, this marijuana drug being grown in this house. In other words, they're rats who are ratting out someone on their private property. But the police report, here's the great thing about it. It said they called the police to report marijuana being grown in the next door neighbor's home. When the 2 police officers arrived, they told them. The 2 police officers responded, "That's legal. Don't call us again," and left.
Mind your business.
Yeah,
Isn't that wonderful, though?
I love it,
I
yeah.
read that in a police report where the 2 police officers arrived. These rats told them what they found, and the 2 cops said, "That's what you called us for?" They said, "You got to know, that's totally legal now." They said, "We got nothing to do with that," and they got back in their squad car and left.
That's the beauty of the Minnesota bill is about 25% of cannabis users do home grow here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So it's
So and now you can do it and not have to worry about your neighbors looking in your window and reporting you to the authorities. And then having a raid? Would that have been the old days? They'd have come in with a raid?
Wasted tax
break your
dollars.
door down.
Yeah, wasting our tax dollars with a raid.
Well, we appreciate you having you on the podcast.
If I don't talk too much, I'd love to come back.
But yeah, thanks again for your time, and we'll see you guys a little bit later.
This episode of Northern Lights Podcast is brought to you by the North Star Accelerator Program, helping entrepreneurs launch successful and compliant cannabis businesses with confidence. Learn more
Thanks
at
for spending your time with
us
us
during this
Consulting.com.
episode of Northern Lights Podcast. Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by Dr. Clement Dabney, Alicia Bellamy, Tanner Barris, and me, Jordan Wimpf. Audio and video production provided by Dabbler Depot and by Jordan Wimpf. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Northern Lights Podcast, here with co-host Alicia. And we have a very special guest who's been on the podcast several times, Jen Riza. What have you been up to and what's new in your world?
Yeah, thanks, Clem. So alert readers may know that I left the practice of law in January and hung out my own shingle as a consultant. I did that in part because law doesn't work very well for entrepreneurs. And people were basically asking me all the same questions, but didn't have the money to pay me per hour for each of them to get their own answers. Like that okay. So we flipped the script, and as a consultant, I can give, the up-to-date, important advice to people in groups and at scale in a way that I couldn't before. So first, I helped a lot of people get through licensing. That was exciting. We had the lottery, of course. And then most recently, I've launched the North Star Accelerator Program, which uses that one-to-many approach to help a bunch of micros and mesos get set up in Minnesota.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Accelerator Program?
Yeah. So it's a community of folks who are building licensed businesses in Minnesota. It functions as a membership model. So I decided, as opposed to making some people some big promises like some cannabis consultants, right? Instead, it was, do you want to be in the room every week as we build these businesses together? And so we get together Tuesdays at noon. I can talk about whatever the hell has now happened in the Minnesota cannabis industry, because this thing is always changing, right, as we know, as the Northern Lights Podcast.
The only thing that's been consistent.
Exactly. So we can talk together about what's now happened, what new challenges or opportunities have emerged. They can ask me questions about what they're running into as they build, because people are getting stuck on things, how to interpret a part of the rules about fencing for their specific questions, how to deal with a city regulator, right? And so they can ask me, but they can also ask each other, because we're all trying to build successful and compliant businesses under the same brand new framework. It makes sense to do it together.
It seems like it's so much easier, because I use my network a lot as well. It's like Philly was on this episode. I'll shoot him a text. Who are you doing for? What are you doing for your point of sale, your POS. What vendors do you like and don't like? What are you guys doing for security?
Yes.
How have you best reached out to find the products? So I think that this accelerator program seems to be like, you not only get a place to ask the questions, because the labeling is changing on cans of soda, labeling's changing on all the low potency hemp edibles. The policy that drives our industry is constantly evolving. And we're not lawyers, and we probably have 9-to-5s and other obligations. And it's nice to have a resource to come to that has all this information.
Yeah, and so I work so hard to stay on top of that or to find answers if I don't know them, or certainly I don't know everything. And so like you said, another piece of advice that people need is what other third parties should they be working with? Who's reputable? What should they pay for now versus what can they wait to pay for? And so I've been able to vet some of those third-party providers, turn them into preferred providers to the accelerator, where people know what they're going to get. Those third parties understand the small businesses and what we're looking for specifically. And then I can also hit them up for discounts because there's a group of us that I'm going to send their way. And so I can basically back into like co-op pricing on behalf of the whole group. It's really working well. I'm excited.
That's really cool.
And I actually have the pleasure of being a student of the accelerator program. And what I'd like to say about it is that, Jen, you always ask questions. What are we looking for? Am I doing a good job presenting this to you? And just staying connected with us. And I really enjoy that about the program.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm so glad that you've been a part of this first phase, which I kind of think of as its beta phase, right? We are figuring this out together. And so our group of almost 20, I think we've learned a lot. We've created a lot of really good educational content from the people that have visited the accelerator already and stuff.
Right.
Now I'm excited to welcome more people who maybe have been building on their own and are feeling a little stuck, or who are finally making progress and are ready to capitalize on that and cross the finish line and launch a strong, compliant business. I'm excited to have them come join us.
And another thing that's really cool about the group is seeing what other people are doing and seeing the creation and the ingenuity just come together. And then like you were saying, like having that hive mind or community type of platform. So we're kind of like helping each other out. And I think that's the way that we're going to survive the MSOs coming in, or, people that just have way more money than all of us. So I really think that it's a good program.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What is the biggest thing a small business should understand when working with cities? And does the accelerator have a program on that?
One of the big challenges for a lot of folks in the accelerator has been to find property, make sure that it's appropriate property from a zoning perspective and from other perspectives, right? Like, does it have power and water that you need, et cetera? To secure that property, so to enter into a lease or to buy it. And a lot of us are stuck on city-facing rules, fighting with cities. And I think some of those cities are maybe just trying to keep us out. They're throwing stuff up there. But others are, I think, acting in good faith, trying to figure out how to regulate this brand new industry and how to add it to the other industries they've got on their main street, right? So one thing that we do a lot of in the accelerator is talking about the conversations that each of us have had with the cities or could have. And what I always recommend to people and what I have seen work in the accelerator is to really think of it as building a relationship with the city. And specifically the city staff, not even so much the people who are going to vote on whether your conditional use permit gets approved, though that's important. But the city staff are the ones who are actually going to be helping you through the process of, okay, you need a conditional use permit, here's how you do it, here's where it gets submitted, and then they make a recommendation to the city council, right? So, Susan, that random woman in your city, she's your new best friend for the purposes of figuring out how to become a licensed operator there.
Yeah.
Another thing that I see a lot of operators struggle with is they think that because they have seen cannabis businesses in other states do a thing, or conversely, not be allowed to do a thing, that must be true for us in Minnesota. And I mean, while there are, of course, similarities, whatever, the laws are different. So, for instance, we don't need to install a vestibule, a place where you check IDs and then go through another secure door, which is required in a lot of legal states, right? But Minnesota decided we were going to try to be next generation of cannabis dispensaries, and like, is there really a value to vestibules so as to require them for everybody? No, we don't think so. So you don't have to build a wall to have a vestibule. You can if you want, whatever. Okay. So how do we know? How do we know what Minnesota requires? Well, we got to be familiar with going and reading the rules, and then also keeping up with what OCM is putting out. And so another thing that I'm able to do so easily with the accelerator is give people a, links page. Here's how you can go find the rules, and also that they can ask me questions like that. Like, do we need a vestibule? That's a question I get all the time. No, but you can build one if you want. If you think it's a good idea for you, no problem. But you don't have to.
You want to hear something hilarious?
Yeah.
I actually thought we had to build a vestibule. We planned a vestibule at our location.
I just saved you a bunch of money,
Yes,
Clem.
you did.
Yep.
Oh,
and
man.
you are welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I've done a lot of traveling to different dispensaries all over the country, because I definitely am a cannabis enthusiast. So what about the gun stuff? Like, I've heard a lot of secondhand information, thirdhand information. Like, so Arizona, there's a man standing in front of the dispensary with a AK.
An armed security.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what does that look like in Minnesota? What is the security aspect? Are we going to have people with guns? Or I guess that might be a layman's question, but
I don't think that guns are either required or banned. I think that the requirement is just for security that meets certain standards, and then it tries to let the licensee figure out, is that an employee security person who's standing by the door, or are you hiring an outside security person? My hope is that I always find that very ugly. I don't want to go into any place where anyone has an AK-47.
No, it's very jarring, actually. Like, what kind of weed is this? Like,
yeah. Well, and especially we're excited to welcome the people of Minnesota who don't go into dispensaries everywhere they travel. Right. Okay.
Right.
We're excited to welcome them into Minnesota dispensaries, and so I'm hoping that, like, the deletion of the vestibule also is an idea of trying to create like a friendly, welcoming retail environment, more like our hemp-derived stores that people are willing to buy THC in, and just kind of take them to the next level.
I love that for Minnesota.
I do too. I love that Minnesotans have embraced hemp THC in the way that they have, and I hope that will mean that they're willing to dip their toes in the adult use industry in a way that might have been a harder sell 3 years ago.
So, Jen, I know how to get in touch with you, but how do other people get in touch with you? And what else do you have going on that you want to spotlight?
Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, best single way is to go to my website, which is northstarcannabisconsulting.com. I know it's long, but it's easy.
We are in the North Star State.
That's exactly right. And there you can find out more information about the North Star Accelerator program that we talked about for licensed entrepreneurs. You can also get signed up for my free newsletter. I've been doing the newsletter for almost a year and a half now. Great source of opportunity. No, sorry.
Great resource.
Yeah. I've been writing the newsletter every 2 weeks for more than a year and a half now. It's a great resource for both people who are building businesses and also people who are somewhat ancillary to the industry and are excited to see it open, to provide like regulatory updates. And also I look forward to profiling everybody's grand openings as we have them. And so if you are listening to this and you have a grand opening party that you need to get out word of, please email me and I'll get it in the newsletter.
That sounds great.
Jen, thank you for being here in the Dabbler Depot studios today. We're going to wrap up the episode of the Northern Lights podcast. We had a lot of really cool guests. Philly from Lucky Strains, the first licensed applicant in the Twin Cities for retail. We had Jesse Ventura on, which was cool to hear about what he's up to. We also had an update from the Cannabis Advisory Council through Bryant, and he got a Can Train grant at MCTC, and we got to learn about a new cool brand that's making cocktail-style beverages. Zach in Midwest Famous. Thank you for stopping by the Dappler Depot Studios, Jen. We're going to... I already fucked it up.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Fuck it, I'll do it live. There we go.
Sometimes that's how podcasts do it.
You guys must be tired. You've been here a
little
long
bit.
time.
Been here, since the morning. And I probably shouldn't have had the last few tokes of that joint with Mr. Ventura.
It's cool. You smoked it to go.
Yeah. Hard to pass that one up. I'm sorry I missed it.
All right, thanks, Jen, for stopping by the Dabbler Depot Studios. Thank you all for watching the Northern Lights podcast, brought to you by Dabbler Depot and the Minnesota Cannabis College. We'll see you on the next episodes, hopefully starting in the fall.
Thanks for spending your time with us during this episode of Northern Lights Podcast. Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by Dr. Clement Dabney, Alicia Bellamy, Tanner Barris, and me, Jordan Whiff. Audio and video production provided by Dabbler Depot and by Jordan Whiff. Thank you to our guests for their time and insight as we continue to enhance and elevate cannabis education and community in Minnesota. The information provided in this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice, but is instead for general informational purposes only. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking advice from their own legal counsel. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.